What's up, my friends at the Film Fan, and wherever you may be and however you may be watching, thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time. You know, this is going to be one of those streams where I'm going to have to put up with Jeremy's incessant bullshit about what decade is this movie in, blah, blah, blah. Yes, the 90s had a few bangers. Most of them were smaller independent films. All I have to say is even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, but I'm going to give Jeremy's decade of the 90s all the credit it deserves for this movie, which is a great amount of fun, and I'm glad that he's here with my other two friends to talk about it tonight. And of course, it's Hackers. Thank you very much to all my friends for coming in, starting with my header life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
Yeah, I told you, I'm still ready for this throwdown. I've got a whole list written out of all these 90s movies that are absolute bangers. He wants to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, these little indie films, you know, something like, you know, Jurassic Park, The Matrix. For one thing, the one thing that solidified our friendship, Clerks.
Clerks, yes.
I mean, come on. Like,
an independent film. Let's say.
True. You know what? That's fair. That's actually fair. I'll give you that one. But, however, yeah, there's some good movies in this decade, and I just need somebody. I mean, Casey, somebody needs to clip all these. I need a montage of him every time he's admitted it, just so I can watch it and, you know, have a few minutes of footage and just keep that in my back pocket. Just for later.
TSS used to do that job for Drew over on Derail. Maybe I'll get TSS to come through and just find the spots where I throw all the 90s a little bit of love. And, of course, so Shane, Phil Star State, my man Tex. What's up, brother?
Well, and y'all's, as a bystander and just a watcher of your eternal conflict of 80s versus 90s, I'm going to have to disagree with y'all on this one. This movie sucked. I got to be real honest with you. This is a point for the 80s column. So, Jeremy, I think you're wrong about this one, pal. I think Frank gets a point for the 80s column.
That had nothing to do with the 80s. Okay. He's mad because he saw 0.5 seconds of like Angelina Jolie's titty and he was mad about it. He saw more of Matthew Miller's ass than he saw of Angelina Jolie.
Obviously we'll break this down more, but I'm just saying if this is a point battle between 80s versus 90s, put one in the 80s column because this thing's a bore fest. Boy, I don't know what you see in this film, Matt. You're crazy.
Well, you see, it's odd because me and Jeremy are going to be on the side against you because I love
this
as well.
Right? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I kind of took your flag up for this, this episode. I don't know what's going on here, but it's weird, man.
Well, and joining us again, filling in for Lady Cora, who couldn't be with us tonight because she's got stuff going on, is Kenton, aka Freaky Jeebus. What's up, brother?
Howdy. I'm more middle of the road with this one than either of you guys. I don't really.
He's Switzerland tonight.
Yeah,
what he is.
Basically, there's things I really do like about it, and there's things that I'm just like, come on, like it can end already or whatever. But
I feel that
though. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back again. Excited to talk about this one. Yeah, there's so much going on here.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to break down in this movie, from a little bit of premonitions about what would come, not just for the world, but for some of these actors. We're here, of course, to talk about Hackers, which is the 1995 American crime thriller film directed by Ian Softly and starring Johnny Lee Miller, a very young 19-year-old Angelina Jolie, Jesse Bradford, Matthew Illard, pre-screen, Lawrence Mason, Renoli Santiago, Lorraine Bracco, and the great Fisher Stevens, who I think is an underrated actor. The film follows a group of high school hackers and their involvement in an attempted theft. Made in the mid-1990s when the internet was just starting to become popular amongst the general public, it reflects the ideas laid out in the Hacker Manifesto quoted in the film. The film received mixed reviews from critics, and it underperformed at the box office upon its release, but it's gone on to achieve kind of the ultimate cult status amongst films. The film was released on September 15th, 1995. It opened in 1,800 theaters and earned about $3.2 million its opening weekend, finishing in fourth place. The film ended its box office run with a gross of $7.5 million against a budget of just $20 million. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 33% based on reviews from 46 critics, with a consensus review that states, quote, Hackers has a certain stylish appeal, but its slick visuals and appealing young cast can't compensate for a cliched and disappointing uninspired story. A little bit harsh on that one, but I mean, I kind of get it from one perspective, not from another. It's really hard to judge it on what it was in 1995, especially considering what would come in the last 25, 30 years since this movie's released. I'll go to you first, Tex, since you're going to be the biggest outlier. Give me some quick thoughts on Hackers before we dive into all the spoiler stuff.
You know, in a cast full of very effeminate men, Angelina Jolie is the most badass in this entire film, and that's saying something. I think every male lead in this movie has questionable proclivities. Proclivities, I think, is the most professional way to put it. But it was just the star of the film was Wooden. He has the personality of a baked potato. I don't know who this guy is, but he sucked. I'm sorry. This guy was horrible. It was uber 90s, which is not a problem. I like the 90s as a decade. I mean, hell, I lived in it. But it was just, it felt very cliche and very like it kind of feels like what we do to the 80s now. It kind of felt that way. But I wasn't a fan of this movie. It was very blah. It felt very B movie, tune in at 10 o'clock on the Sci-Fi Channel and, we're going to have your feature presentation. I wasn't a fan of this one. The very cheesy hacking. Oh, I need help over here on this keyboard, because I have zero hacking skills. I'll be honest with you. But having just two people on a keyboard, I'm sure doesn't help you do it any better. I can almost guarantee that. But I don't think this is a very good movie. I got to be honest with you. Even with the star power, I don't think it's very good.
Jerry, what do you think? Give me some of your quick thoughts on Hackers.
It's because it wasn't a horror movie. I'm sitting here just like not quite seething, but I'm like, it was not a
Jeremy's
horror movie.
never going to talk to me again for at least 2 weeks now. So
I'm like, I know he doesn't like this movie. I don't know. God, we're gonna show him something to get his fucking attention back. No, honestly, I agree. I think who's Van Edwards, I think, said it there. A lot of 90s bangers, but not sure this is the show for it. I wouldn't put this up against the heavy hitters of the 90s. No, for sure. I will agree with Tex. It does kind of feel like a cheesy B movie. It was very 90s. It was probably the most 90s shit I've ever seen in my life. Like
everybody rollerbladed everywhere.
Yeah, damn it, that's what we did. And we were happy. Yeah. We had pagers. Yeah, right there. Squad was rolling up, and you knew shit was getting real. God damn it. Yeah. I don't know why. I was looking up, I was like, oh my God, hey, that's the guy who was in the Super Mario Bros. Movie like 2 years prior. He's doing well, isn't he? Shit.
That's a good recommendation.
Yeah, well, I'm down for that. That's a terrible 90s movie that I'll just, compared to what we got. Obviously we got a brand new Mario movie, but no, I for some reason thought the main character was the dude who was Stan in the Eminem music video. I don't know why. He just looked like the guy, and I was like, oh, that's not him. That's disappointing. Because I don't know, but obviously, Matthew Lillard is just Matthew Lillard in this movie. He's a lot of fun, and it was like a year before he did Scream. I can kind of see why if someone maybe saw this and thought, oh, that guy seems like a lot of fun. Let's have him be a serial killer in this upcoming movie.
I don't know if you noticed that was his hacker handle was serial killer. I don't know. That was just a weird.
Yeah, I did get that. Yeah.
It's a little on the nose, honestly. That's
kind of a premonition of things to come,
That's pretty damn funny. Unless, you know what? Hey, maybe that was Stu Macher just kind of, he was coming into his own there a little bit and he was like, yeah, you know what?
No, Stu Macher would have wiped this guy out in 5 minutes. This guy stood no chance against the great Stu Macher. So.
Yeah, great Stu Macher got taken out by a fucking TV. He's awesome. Anyway, I'm still in the camp that I'm sure you could have lived through it. I'm like, I want to see Matthew Lillard out here again. He did a knife wipe.
No.
Albeit in a Friday
keep Stu dead. Let a sleeping Stu lie. Let's leave him alone. He's better off there. So,
are you having a stroke today, Tex? I'm like, man, he wants nothing but more Matthew Lillard and Scream, and now he's like, nah, fuck him, he's dead.
Originally, I did, but the more I process, I'm like, you know what? they're just going to screw it up if they bring him back. Just leave him dead. That's all we do these days, is ruin things.
Well, let's not get too far off topic here. Let's go to Free Kojimas real quick. Let me get your thoughts on Hackers before we dive into the spoiler stuff.
All right. Well, I mean, this was a first time watch for me. Growing up, like knowing about it, the only things I knew were like it's a movie about hackers that's kind of cyberpunky. Matthew Lillard's in it, and you see Angelina's boobs. And I watched it, and yeah, those are all true. And it's I hate to say it again.
Well said.
But it's fine. Out of 10, I give it a 6, just like I would with Leprechaun. Although I think I enjoyed parts of this more than anything from Leprechaun, but I also disliked parts of it more than anything from Leprechaun. So like, it's
excuse me.
Yeah, but it gets the same rating from me. But I mean, I love I absolutely love the aesthetic and also the music. I love the soundtrack and the score, which I noted down that it sounded very like 80s Pink Floyd-esque, like in certain moments, like when the guitar was playing. And I looked it up. David Gilmour is on one of the songs in the soundtrack, so that makes sense. But yeah, it was fun. I had fun with it for sure.
And one of the band members from Eurythmics has a small cameo in this movie. I'll tell you guys about that in a second. But yeah, for me, look, like I said, I think we've talked about it before. I'm pretty sure we have. I've mentioned it before. If the 90s had one saving grace when it comes to entertainment, it's an independent film in the 90s was thriving. Clerks, like Jeremy mentioned, smaller budget stuff that was made by young filmmakers with different visions. The 90s was the decade that really gave us that really opened things up for a lot of young filmmakers to make low budget stuff and just get a vision out there. This, I think, was one of those movies. Look, it's a lot of fun. Was it the best movie? No. Does it look really, really dated now? Oh, by far. This movie looks like it's old. But I mean, it's still fun and watchable. And you can say there's star power in it, but you got to remember, at the time this movie was made, none of these people were stars. Angelina Jolie had done, I think, one or two things of any notoriety. I'm not even sure she was known as being John Voight's daughter. Johnny Lee Miller was still very new. There were some people that had I mean, Fisher Stevens was kind of a thing going back to the 80s, Short Circuit, stuff like that. So Mark Anthony was not even Mark Anthony yet. His singing career hadn't really popped yet. He had been in a few things. I mean, his career wasn't big yet. So I mean, there were people in the movie that had been stars, but I mean, this wasn't led by Angelina Jolie today. It wasn't led by Johnny Lee Miller today, who's had a good career. I mean, he played Sherlock Holmes in Elemental. He played not Tony Blair, I forget who, the Prime Minister in a season of The Crown. I mean, his career has blown up since then. Back then, these guys were nobodies. I mean, a couple of these guys had been character actors in a lot of like teen films and teen shows, but I mean, their careers hadn't blown up. So to give this story to a bunch of relatively unproven stars was the right thing to do. It usually is the right thing to do for a young director, because if you give a young director Robert De Niro, he's not going to know how to direct Robert De Niro. You know what I mean? He's not going to be able to get that kind of performance out of a guy like that. So give him young stars who themselves are trying to prove something. It's usually a pretty good recipe for success, especially when it comes to independent film. Is it prophetic for what would eventually become the internet age, the computer age that we're in now? In a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, it is kind of funny that like the first part of the movie, they're going back and forth, trying to hack this TV station to watch what they want to watch. And it's like these days, you think to yourself, that's really how TV stations run. It's like there's some asshole in a room programming what comes on next, what commercials come up next. and if you can get into that computer, you can watch whatever the hell you want, or put whatever the hell you want on TV for everybody to watch. But yeah, I think it's a really fun movie. Like I said, is it the best movie that came out of the 90s? No. There was some that came out of the 90s that are pretty legendary. But is it a classical, low budget, full of unheard of people? Yeah, that kind of small filmmaking was thriving in the 90s. I think this was one of the films. Look, there's a reason why you bestow cult status upon a movie, it's because even though it may not age well, it watches well. There is a nostalgia factor. There's a performance factor. There's an artistic factor. There's something about that movie that helps it age well. And this is one of those movies that has a couple different angles. I want to talk for a minute about the director. Ian Softly, not a big name, not a big resume, but he's done a couple of movies I want to point out. His first big movie was Hackers. He also did that movie K-Pax in 2001, about 6 years later, with Kevin Spacey. Yeah, with Kevin Spacey.
That's a weird movie, dude.
That was an odd movie, but it was still kind of fun. He's also got a little bit of a horror background, Tex, if you know this. He did the movie Skeleton Key with what's her name?
Blonde girl. I can see her. I don't.
Which I actually thought that was a pretty Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson. I actually
thought that was a pretty decent movie. I mean, it's not like my favorite.
Skeleton Key was good,
but it was good. Yeah. Good tense filmmaking. It could have been a bit more horror for me. It was a lot more tension, not really the jump scare kind of horror, but the spiritual kind of stuff. I thought that was a really good movie. I mean, those are 3 movies that he's done that I've actually thought were very interesting concepts, all very, very different as well. I don't know, Jeremy, I'll go to you first. I mean, if I say those 3 movies, do you think that guy has had a long career or that he's kind of fizzled out?
Well, I think K-Pax is the only movie that I've seen that I know of. So, that's one that I think I would also like to go back and watch, because I think a friend showed it to me. Probably back when I was in high school. So it's probably been at least like 10, 15 years since I've seen it. I just remember it was just weird. I mean, it's gonna be weirder now. I mean, you're talking about being removed from a movie. It's like, oh yeah, it's Kevin Spacey. Nope, nothing happens to that guy. Jesus. Oh boy. Was he an alien or was he not? I don't know. Fucking, was it real? Who knows? Interesting movie if you've never seen it. I kind of see now, like, remembering the weird, surreal, like, feel of that movie. I can kind of see how that's the same director. I don't know. This could be one of those times where you tell me, like, oh yeah, there's this movie. Oh, I didn't know that. He directed this too. Oh, okay. Like, so it's kind of got like I guess that's that unique feel to that director. You know what I mean? Like, you watch another banger from the 90s, like Seven. And speaking of Kevin Spacey, because now my mind's just connecting dots. You know what I mean? It's like you can tell that's David Lynch. Is that David Lynch?
Mm-hmm.
That was David Lynch, yeah.
I was drawing a blank.
Mm-hmm.
David Fincher.
Fincher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not Lynch. My bad. But like, you see that and you can feel like, oh, that's definitely that's his kind of movie. And as we always like to make fun of, love him or hate him, Tim Burton, you're like, yeah, that's definitely a Tim Burton movie. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's comparing those two in my mind. It's like, yeah, I see how that could be the logical progression. When did K-Pax come out? Like 2001 or something?
2001.
Still got it. I don't have a photographic memory, but goddamn it, you asked me when a movie was. I bet y'all get it 1 year over or under. I'll tell you every time, because that's my only dumb fucking claim to fame, is that I can do that. No, not K-Pax News, motherfucker. I want the movie. Yeah, it's 2001. Yep. Huh? Is that on anything? I'm done jabbering. I'm sorry. I'm looking for that movie now. Now I'm in a rabbit hole.
Ian Softly also did, and I'm just realizing this now, he did another horror movie in 2015 called Curve with Julianne Hough for Blumhouse.
I saw that. I've seen that before, but it's been...
He's still doing stuff then. So...
And he just directed a short movie for Disney Plus, not to mention a couple of music videos and stuff like that. So,
all right then.
But I don't know. Tell me, Kenton. I mean, just going over the movies that I've gone over, it's like, do you feel like this guy should have a bigger name in Hollywood, or is this just kind of like what the guy does? Is he always going to be kind of mid-range director?
Well, this is the only one I've seen. Yeah, I haven't got to the Skeleton Key or K-Pax yet, so they're both on my list. And I'm pretty sure I have both of them on DVD. But yeah, no. I mean, it's not a name I recognized. I was like, I looked him up after I watched it. I was like, okay, who is this guy? What did he do? And yeah, I mean, not really a lot to say about him. I mean, I guess he's English, so I guess that explains why Johnny Lee Miller got cast in this. But yeah, not much to say about him. If all of his movies have this kind of style, then I'm down. But I kind of doubt it based on these other titles.
Well, no, Tex, what do you think? He's got a little bit of a horror background. You've seen his horror background. Does that make you think that maybe this guy's the director that would hopefully get some more opportunities?
Well, he's 67 for one.
If you haven't seen Skeleton Key, I would highly recommend it. As far as like director style and vibe go, it's night and day from Hackers to Skeleton Key. I mean, Skeleton Key was y'all know my love for the early 2000s horror scene. That's my favorite. In any movies, that's my favorite time period. But it's got like this dark, creepy, because it takes place in the swamp. It's like a Louisiana Cajun feel. Like it, when you watch this movie, you can almost feel the humidity on your skin. It's kind of how it feels when you're watching this movie. It's kind of like a reverse. If you've ever seen Jordan Peele's Get Out, his first movie that he did, it's like a reverse of that. But it's very cool how they play it. I won't spoil anything for the ones that haven't seen it because it's got a pretty fun little twist with it. But it's one of those movies that came out and it did good enough, but not good enough to get a sequel. And I always wanted a Skeleton Key Part 2, but obviously that never came. But no, Kate Hudson looks great in the movie. It's I'd say that's probably his best film out of everything that you listed off. The Julianne Hough movie I have seen that Curve. I've seen that, but I can't remember anything about it. But there's a lot of movies that are like that. But no, as far as his work goes, Skeleton Key's top notch for me. But it's one. If like I said, if you haven't seen it, I'd say go check it out at your earliest convenience.
Yeah, you've sold me on it.
And like I said,
it's cool.
Yeah, like I said, Skeleton Key was a lot of fun to watch. I didn't even know he had made the other legitimate enough until just now when I was looking through his filmography. But we all start doing what we do somewhere, and if you start,
apparently Nick's playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, I mean, look, to start with a movie like Hackers, one that's gotten cult status. I mean, come on, that's not a bad way to go to have your first movie you ever done kind of resonate with a couple of generations of people over the course of 30 years. You know what I mean? That's not the worst way to go. There's not a lot of directors that can do that. I mean, there's some big name directors that can say that. I mean, because you remember, Spielberg wasn't Spielberg when he made Jaws. He's Spielberg now, but he wasn't Spielberg when he was messing around with Bruce the Shark. You know what I mean? Same thing with like
you're still scared to go swimming in the ocean, damn it.
Yeah. Same thing with Lucas. I mean, they gave him the Star Wars merchandising rights because they didn't really think Star Wars was going to be much, and now here we are with George Lucas, the god of all things, sci-fi, but sci-fi opera anyway. But yeah, so I mean that's not a bad start. I mean, I don't know, maybe he just didn't want to do some projects that were thrown at him. I don't really know. His Wikipedia page doesn't have one of those potential project sections like a lot of directors has. But yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have seen more from him. I mean, I'll watch this short film that comes out. I'll watch Skeleton Key again just for fun. I mean, like I said, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. But let's talk now about the cast. And I mean, again, a lot of young people that were not huge at the time, but they went on to big things. Obviously Angelina Jolie, obviously Matthew Lillard would go on a year or two later to Scream and his ascension into stardom. Johnny Lee Miller has not done bad. I'll go to you first, Tex. What do you think of the cast of the movie? Who stood out to you the most?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody you mentioned there. Lots of future stars to be had besides the obligatory ones. And now, forgive me, I didn't have time to write down names and look everything up. The kid that smoked the whole movie. Who is he?
Yeah.
He was hilarious in this movie. Just the just for his scene alone, whenever he's going to the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting or whatever. Oh, I'm not an addict. I don't have a problem.
Right,
What are you talking
yeah.
about? That was my favorite scene in this entire movie. Acting wise, that sold me, like, on, how he kind of, in the beginning of the film, he was kind of the first pin to fall. And then at the end of it, he becomes a hero. He redeems himself, and they're the ups and downs. I really appreciated his story and how he was kind of the tag along to the group. But in the end, he was the
he was the hero
star to kind of
clutch at the end.
Right. He was your Rudy. He was your whatever,
Royale, bitch.
Yeah. And I mean, just having the constant cigarette in his mouth, I thought was hilarious to watch. So, and just the scene where he's smoking in his room, his mom knocks on the door like she can't already smell the cigarette smoke. He's trying to lice all that crap out of the air. I thought was hilarious too. But
I think that was funny.
I thought he was pretty good. So.
I don't know. Kenton, how about you? What do you think of the cast of the film as they were in the film, not as big stars? And who stood out to you the most?
Yeah. Who stood out to me the most was probably Fisher Stevens. I mean, he was just a perfect sleazy greaseball kind of, almost like 80s boardroom villain kind of guy. God, he was
very cliche, but very good.
Yeah. Of course, Matthew Lillard. 1 year before Scream. And there's been some Johnny Lee Miller slander, which I agree with. He's not very good in this movie. Probably mostly. Yeah. I feel like a lot of it is him just trying to do an American accent. But like, this was a year before Trainspotting, and he is amazing in both the Trainspotting movies. But as far as back to this movie, Renly Santiago as the freak. He was a fun little guy. He was also in Con Air. And then
that's a fun one.
Yeah, who else did I have on here? Oh, Lorraine Bracco, who's like Fisher Stevens' like girlfriend or whatever. And she stood out to me as being not very good also in this. Like, it seems like she's just, like they just kind of shoved her in front of a camera and like didn't really tell her what was going on, but that's also what like the character is too, I guess.
I didn't like the pairing of those two.
Yeah,
I didn't think she fit with him very well. It didn't.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if they screen tested other people, but obviously it's just they could have. I'm not talking just looks wise, but chemistry they just didn't quite have it. I didn't like that pairing.
No, he was out of that.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do I say Kaiser Soze because for some reason Kevin Spacey won't leave my head now? Just gone.
Well, now you're going to be his new pet. So congratulations.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
He's like Dracula. You're in his gaze now. So get ready to do weird stuff.
All the roses around me and shit.
Jay, what do you think? Again, a cast loaded with would-be actors. Who stood out for you the most in this movie?
All right. Well, since me, I try not to go for the obvious catch. And since Kenton kind of stole mine, I was going to say Fisher Stevens because, like I said, he still just keeps playing it like a very, like you said, a very 80s like boardroom villain kind of guy. And this is 2 years removed from the Super Mario movie, a pinnacle of cinema. So, that's a good assessment. Well, it happened. Yeah, that's what. That's all I gotta say about that. No, so I'm going to dig deep, and I'm going to say Penn Jillette. You might be a magician, but you can't hide from me, motherfucker. Yeah. I saw you. I saw you in that room. It took me like 2 seconds. I was looking behind the glasses. I'm like, what a damn... No. That's not him. Pulled my phone. I'm like, son of a bitch. That is him.
Did you like the pinky ring that was just like big enough to go on the tip of his finger? It couldn't even go all the way down. Did you like that? I did find that one kind of interesting.
Considering, I know I'm going to I'm gonna squirrel here slightly, considering I just saw that happen in Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's still kind of fresh in my mind. So that's making it making it more funny. But yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I'm trying to think about in this time too. Like you said, not many of these people were the well-known names that they are now. So and I'll even say what was his name? Wendell Pierce, who played Agent Gill, because it's just funny that there's some guy who's just like at the butt end of every one of their jokes, and he's always like one step behind him. He's always just like, God damn, son of a bitch! It's every time he just gets like something mildly inconvenienced, like being pronounced dead for some reason. So, yeah, and again, obviously Matthew Lillard and Angelina Jolie. So I don't need to really. They speak for themselves now, but I mean, hey. Like you said, in that time, they were just doing what they do.
Yeah, one of them jumps out at me is that they're very young. He was actually the youngest member of the cast at the time. I think he was 16, was Jesse Bradford. I've actually known him from a couple of things since then, but I also know him from he was on most of the season of The West Wing as some little pissant little intern that got his job because daddy was a senator or some shit like that. He kind of played a similar character, but way more arrogant, way more cocksure.
He sounds like the same guy.
Way more cocksure, but I mean, I'm going to go with what you guys with Fisher Stevens. I mean, I don't think this guy's ever gotten the credit he's deserved as an actor. I'm sitting here looking over his stuff. I mean,
he does stuff. Just
Child of the '80s, Short Circuit, both 1 and 2, and I know Short Circuit 2 is
Five's alive.
Line, but I mean but he carries Short Circuit 2 when the two biggest stars wouldn't come back for a sequel. He carries that movie pretty well. I mean, the Super Mario Brothers movie, I'll give him a pass. I mean, I'll give him a pass for that one.
We don't.
I mean, then obviously this movie. I mean, he's all kinds of stuff. I mean, Uptown Girls.
I didn't realize that he's in The Burning. Tex, you probably know The Burning, that 80s slasher.
That was the very first film he ever did.
I didn't realize he was in that. Holy shit!
Yeah, he's buds with Jason Alexander in that one.
Oh, you're right. Holy shit! I'll be down.
But I mean, really, also for his TV work. I mean, he actually was a great character in The Blacklist. Played Marvin Gerard. He was kind of the main bad guy of the second to last season of that series after being a friend to the Raymond Reddington character for most of the show. He plays a great bad guy. He was intimidating. And not because he was, I mean, he would shoot you and stuff, but he was also so smart. His cunning was actually very, very good. He's been in Succession, which in and of itself is damages Law and Order, a couple episodes of Elementary with Johnny Lee Miller again. The Mentalist, Californication, Ugly Betty, Numbers, which is a great show. I mean, yeah, the guy also, he's got some directing and producing credits as well. He actually owns his own production company, a small production company. He started with some friends. I mean, the guy's never. I don't think the guy's ever gotten the credit that he deserves as an actor. I think it's probably by design. I don't know that he's ever actually tried to, be the main star of a movie. I think he's always been content playing that Ben Javari character or playing a character like this. He's never tried to reach to be like the next great Hollywood guy. He's just like, as long as I'm working and acting, enjoying my craft, I'm doing it. It makes the performance so much easier when you're just doing it for fun. You know what I mean? But again, one thing I noticed is like I don't think Angelina Jolie has changed much. She's kind of just a young version of Angelina Jolie in this movie. Yeah. Well, I mean, because she wouldn't watch this. I mean, at the time that she made this, she was like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And you would think that when you're that young, you're either a phenom and you're good at it because you've got some weird natural ability that nobody else has, or you're going to be not so great at it, but if you've been around for a while, you're going to grow. So you could take Angelina Jolie in this movie and Angelina Jolie and anything she's made in the last 4 or 5 years, and you can compare the two and be like, I can see the differences in how she acts, how she delivers dialogue, how she practices the craft. But really, she's just kind of always been that's changed. But I mean, but really, she's just always been Angelina Jolie. She's just kind of, I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference between the way that she carries herself in this movie and the way she carries herself in a movie like Wanted. It's like there is a swagger that she a natural swagger that she's always had. And I think that's one of the things that shows through when you see her on camera. But let's talk for a minute about the plot. The whole look, the whole thing about taking little bits of a transaction and putting it aside for yourself. This is about the 14th movie that's been done in. I mean, even to this point in 1995, it was done in. Well, I think one movie that I could think of off the top of my head already, a comedy movie.
Another good 90s comedy movie.
Another
say
great
it, Frank.
90s comedy.
I want to hear your horror mouth say it.
Again, independent, small budget film. I want to point that out. Okay. We're talking about Office Space for those of you who are wondering.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, so it's not so much the plot as much as just in kind of the environment that it's all set in. Because it's really easy, like in a movie like Office Space, it's just these guys that are screwing around their computers in the office, as opposed to the people in this movie, the hackers, who are trying to effectively, cause chaos. I'll go to you first, Jeremy. What do you think of the plot of the film? Was it really ahead of its time?
See, I'm trying to not look at it again, like we are now with how the internet has gone. There are things that do stay relevant from this movie to now, for sure. But I think in being in this time, it's like this is like a new kind of fun, I guess, exciting frontier of like the internet. And I was thinking like 1995, I'm like, shit, the Windows 95 was coming out, and I'm like, didn't like they just launch Internet Explorer that year or some shit? So I'm like, this is like, again, yeah, you can say the Star Trek Space is the final frontier. I'm like, no, we still got the internet to conquer, my guys. So it's got that again, and it's got the just very heavily 90s feel and like to it, the music, like we said. So there's just like that little sweet spot of like stuff like this where it was like, oh, it's fun, it's exciting, it's cyberspace. Ooh. Type a few things on the keyboard and magic happens. You know what I mean? Stop shaking my computer. Jesus. It's gonna start getting ideas. Yeah, it's as far as the like actual plot that was happening, I'm just kind of like, yeah, fun stuff, hacking, excitement. Matthew Lillard being a weirdo. Whoever's couch he's sleeping on tonight. I mean, okay, man, and help yourself to the fridge, I guess. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it kind of had. I mean, it kind of had a semblance of a plot. I think the only thing that got kind of annoying was I'm like, Jesus, these Secret Service agents have no fucking chill.
Yes,
I'm like,
I noticed
literally
that.
out of nowhere, enough time.
Gun in face.
Like, God, like he jumped like just out of a window, like get on the ground. I'm like, what? Yo, I had no time to like process that. Give me whiplash, man.
I laughed out loud every single time it happened. They just popped out with guns in their faces just immediately.
Right.
Just like,
out of nowhere.
Oh my God.
It's like a joke. I mean, the first time, when they go to arrest, I think the main kid, right? I'm like, you're gonna tell me this like 100-pound dweeby fucker that put a gun in my face and says, "Oh, I'm the Secret Service." I'd be like, "No, the fuck you're not. Go away, you little tweaker. Get out of my house." I don't know. Some of them I could believe were like, government agents. Like I said, I like got it played Agent Dill. I'm like, yeah, I could believe that. But my God, it just whatever that meme is, like no wind up, no nothing, just straight gas. They come in. So whatever, they get the job done, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tex, what did you think about the plot of the movie? Was it kind of ahead of its time? Did it give us a pretty good look as to what the future that would eventually come?
It tried.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was ahead of its time. I highly doubt this was the first time a movie kind of adapted 1984 from George Orwell, and that kind of the mindset that whole story brings. I mean, obviously, that story is as prevalent today as it was in 95, even more so with the technology. But I mean, yeah, it works. It's a very basic, well, I'm going to cause an oil spill if I don't get my $28 million or whatever the crap it was. It was, I didn't really like the oil spill part. I would have been like, oh, I'm going to shut down the stock market, or I would have done something a little more nefarious than just oil spill. I think that was kind of, I don't know. I didn't really like that
did
part
that when
of
he
it,
was
but,
11. That's child's play.
right. But, that's what I'm saying. It would have been, I don't know. I would have done something besides I'm going to sink an oil tanker. Maybe, I don't know, one of those things. I mean, the plot works for what it is. Like I said, this is of course, to me, this is a B movie that you catch whatever. The plot is good enough for what this movie needed it to be, and it obviously entertaining. So I mean, you can't take that away from it.
Yeah, how about you, Kenton? What do you think of the plot? Was it, maybe to say it was ahead of its time is not the right way to say it. Do you think it was prophetic for kind of how things would go in the world with the state of everything being computer based now?
I mean, I guess, yeah, if you put it like that. Yeah, but the thing is, it's the plot. It doesn't really matter because this movie is straight up style over substance. That's what this movie is.
I agree.
If you that's how I watched it. And like, yeah, because what I really liked was the stuff with the hackers just kind of like hanging out, their little competition, them, just doing crazy computer shit together. And then you introduce, the Fisher Stevens part. And while I really like him in this movie, it's not as interesting with that stuff. But like, I mean, I guess movies had done this kind of thing before, like Tron, like going into cyberspace and all that. I mean, granted, they're literally going into cyberspace, but same, and yeah, The Matrix would do it later. But I do think this movie, The Matrix has a little bit of hacker's DNA in it, for sure. But I guess, yeah, when it comes to them, the last act, that's where I kind of, drifting away from it, and just not being as engaged, because that started to be a little more cliche.
Yeah, this is where I'm gonna throw a jab at Jeremy real quick. One of the things I don't like about the '90s is it was more style than substance. However,
yeah, that's fair.
The '80s was every bit as guilty as that at times.
Yeah, you were going to sit here and tell me though.
Now the '90s leaned into it at times, which was
True.
kind of disappointing. Now, because if you take one of the good movies from the '90s, say something like Apollo 13 or Schindler's List or something like that, there was a style to it. Again, we're talking about two different levels of directors here, from something you got from most of the '90s stuff to guys like Ron Howard and Spielberg. But I mean, there is a directorial style to it, but the substance there is something that fills up the screen.
Yeah, you're talking about the Holocaust. That's some pretty heavy shit. I mean,
the subject matter alone is
inherently pretty. Yeah.
But this movie, it's like I do think one of the criticisms I would have is the style probably wasn't going to be the hard part. Giving it more substance would have been. And this movie does suffer a bit from something that a lot of movies suffered from all through the 80s, deep into the 90s, really into the 2000s, if I'm being perfectly honest, is that they forego a little bit of the storytelling to have a visual that is nice, but doesn't do anything for the storytelling part of the movie. So it's like you're at the Cyberdella, this weird nightclub they're hanging out at. They go there a couple times, and I'm like, it's a nice set piece, but the dialogue is more important than the set piece. So the fact that they go back to this Cyberdella, 3, 4, 5 times over the course of the movie, I'm like, you could have had it in there twice, and then had those other scenes take place somewhere else where we can concentrate more on the dialogue, maybe expand the dialogue a little bit more, instead of having all that stuff going on around it. Like the whole video game scene, when he was playing that video game, I was like, that's cool to build up the rivalry, but it doesn't really do anything for the movie. I think there's other ways. I mean, simple dialogue, because if you think about it, you've already kind of established the rivalry at the beginning of the movie anyway between the two characters, with the whole thing about the pool and then setting off the smoke, the fire sprinklers. That sets the rivalry. Yeah. You don't need that video game scene to do something you've already done 5 or 10 minutes earlier in the movie. So that scene
That's
is
true.
wasted. I feel
Well-
now, while it was a fun scene and it happens in front of her boyfriend at the time, and he's kind of a prick, but you never really see him past this first act, so he's not really relevant.
6 and 6.
You could have spent that.
He shouldn't have
time
even
the
been in this movie.
You could have spent that time in the movie,
Yeah.
doing other things with the story, as opposed to redoing that scene in a different place in a different way. That to me was kind of a waste. So yeah, they leaned into the style a bit too much, but when you do get into the substantive stuff, it is good. It's just not as fulfilling as I think it probably should be. Was it prophetic? I mean, yeah. I mean, what are we before? This was years before YouTube. I mean, these guys are, pirate broadcasting their shit across TV. Nowadays, we just got YouTube or Rumble or, whatever of the, 7 or 10 video outlets you can go to on the internet. So yeah, is it prophetic? Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff that has come to pass. I mean, they still had pagers, which was funny. They didn't have, I don't think anybody had a cell phone in this movie. So they kind of missed the boat on that one. But I mean, the way that technology controls everything now, they were kind of giving us that in the movie, saying this is what's going to happen. Your bank's going to have it. The defense systems are going to have it. These tankers that are, carrying millions of gallons of crude oil from across the ocean are going to have all this computer stuff. And there's an inherent danger to that falling to the control of these things falling in the wrong hands. And now everything. I mean, this is the problem with Neuralink. Everybody's like, Neuralink sounds great for helping people see and hear and walk again, but there's always going to be one asshole out there that's going to hack it and make somebody do something stupid because they hack it in their brain. That's kind of that was the warning sign of this movie. I think is that too much automation can be bad.
I think the movie that did this plot, similar plot better, was Live Free or Die Hard, with that whole fire sale and technology takeover type thing. I think they did that better than what this movie did with the, technology part of it. It was, I mean, like I said,
I'll say,
Go
or
ahead.
another great 90s movie like T2, Judgment Day.
Well, 6 and
Don't give us
8.
Skynet,
That's like next. No, talking about T2 is a next level film. I'm just talking about that's on a similar kind of feel as like with the Live Free or Die Hard. You had the technology plot line that John McClane had to get over and everything else. I think they executed it better. I mean, hey, they even had your boy Kevin Smith in there, so there you go. But it was I don't know. Like I said, I didn't touch the internet until like 2003, 2004, maybe. Like I knew nothing. Like I didn't even. The first time I was in high school before I even touched a computer. Like I was driving when I got a cell phone, so I was like way behind on technology. I think that maybe that's why I kind of felt the way I did about the film, because it didn't really relate to me. But I don't know, the technology part. It was like, when you're obviously, I'm sure it was, when you're hacking, you're not in this 3D, old school, video game looking world where you're hacking these towers and garbage and blah, 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 and whatever. I'm sure that's not a thing, but it's just, it felt very cheesy to me. Like if this was like Saved by the Bell, but we're hackers now. It kind of felt that way at times in this movie. Kind of silly, I guess is the right word. I'm not really sure what word I'm looking for.
Well, I guess to bridge the gap here, something else that was sticking into my mind, like of this like time that I'm talking about. I know Matthew Lillard's not in it, but bear with me, the gap is there. One of the coolest movies was Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. Because I'm like, oh my
that
God,
one was good. Yeah.
We're going into cyberspace and this weird. I thought he was a cool looking.
Where they got to meet the other version of the gang where they're wearing opposite colors and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just,
Bizarre
that was
world.
like, right, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like,
Shaggy's wearing like a red shirt instead of a green one or something like that.
There it is. There's the shot. Yeah. They're all like opposite colors. Actually, Daphne, or not Daphne, Velma looks kind of the same. Scooby's got like a blue collar. He's got a red collar over there. Yeah. And that's what I was thinking of. Like, it's that cool. Like, you take that. That was also what, 2002, 2001. Yeah. So it's got that like, oh, this is a fun, exciting thing. We're gonna have cyberspace, and I thought the villain looked pretty cool.
Well, I mean, So, I mean, correct me. Like, okay, what year was the internet like widely available to people? Like, y'all would know better than myself.
Well,
90.
I would say late 90s, maybe.
No, it
Yeah.
was early 90s because it was.
Well, I mean, like more
Because
for
a
before it
friend
panned
of
out to
mine-
more people is what I'm
A
saying.
friend of mine in high school who's real computer smart, still is. He was actually doing programming and stuff when we were in high school. So that was 92
Early 90s, right?
ish. When I go over to his place,
Okay,
and
so
kinda watch
early
him do coding
90s.
and shit like that.
Well, like I
So
said,
would
most
it?
of the-
So in '95,
Hold on, let me look that up.
what they did in this film, would that have been possible? Like, how realistic? How
Oh, yeah,
close
You
is
push
it?
the right
is what
buttons
I'm
and
asking.
stuff happens.
Well, you
Like,
got to remember, in the early days of the internet, they didn't know what kind of security features needed to be in place. Nowadays, you've got McAfee. You
Right.
got,
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
So they didn't know, because you didn't know how this stuff was going to be used, period. And so that's why the people who wanted to use it for nefarious purposes kind of had a field day, because they were like, they didn't know what kind of cybersecurity wasn't a word. It wasn't a term. Nobody knew what the hell that even meant. It hadn't been coined yet. So when banks started to get computerized, with some guy was just, it's like what he does in this movie. It's kind of interesting when he calls the place up. He's like, "Hi, this is Eddie Vedder from accounting. My BLT drive is my DOA." It really was.
Could you read that number off to me, please?
It's
Right,
like if you call the bank now and pull that shit, they'd be like, "Yeah, where can we find you? Because we're going to send the FBI to talk to you." Back
Right.
in 1990, whatever.
Look at it right in your
the internet
fucking
was
window.
still-
You won't even know it.
Yeah, back in 1990, whatever, these guys had no idea. Some security guard at a fucking TV station is not going to know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, because you
So
know
when
anything
you
about
say, "Can you
computers?
read-
He's like,
Yeah, can you read
no.
the number on the modem? They're like, "Yeah, whatever. Here's the number." I don't know anything. I'm a security guard who's sitting there making sure somebody doesn't walk out with a couple of high-priced cameras. Oh, here's the number to the modem. He doesn't know. Whereas nowadays, that stuff's so common knowledge that, here we are 30 years later, which is not a long time to think about it. That stuff's so common knowledge that if I were to call some TV station and be like, "Hey, can you give me the number of the modem?" They'd be like, "Dude, fuck you. We're not gonna let you hack that shit." but yeah, I mean, it really was that easy.
When did you say this came out? September 95?
September of 95.
Shit. That's really close, because when I was thinking about in the context of this movie with the internet, that was really damn close. Internet Explorer launched on August 16th, 1995, like a month before this movie came out.
Oh wow.
That's insane. Like, that's where my mindset was trying to be. I'm like, what was the internet if it really was a thing, or like what was the entire grasp? Well, like we just explained, I guess, what was the grasp of the internet? I mean, watching some of those old clips back where they're like, "Oh, what is this thing called the internet? It's a fad. It's not gonna. Nah, this is stupid."
That thing Al
I'm sure
Gore
the same
built is not
person-
going to go anywhere. Oh, sure, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, Prince's not
Yeah,
gonna go
totally
anywhere.
Al Gore. Yeah.
Radio's not
wasn't
going to go
CIA.
anywhere. Movies aren't going to go anywhere. TV, the internet. I'm like, come
Right.
on, shut up. Just get. At this point, was it like there was a guy, I can't remember. He was like not like a critic, but some guy said that several times throughout his career. He was like some sort of personality that was like, "Yeah, radio is going to be dead. Nah, fuck it." He's like, "Oh no, TV's not going to be a thing. That's a passing. That's just for fun. No one's going to enjoy that." And I'm like, dude, how many times before you realize, like, no, it's not quite how that shit works.
Jeremy will probably remember this for sure too. That when podcasts were first becoming a thing,
Oh god,
it was thought of that podcasts is where you went when your career was dead.
Yeah.
well, I might still be.
Yeah.
But
It's
mean,
like
yeah.
So if somebody gets kicked off TV for whatever, they're like, they're gonna go to a podcast. That's where you go when your career is essentially over. Nowadays, like, podcasting is the way to go. Like, they're just like, why the hell would I want to be on TV when I can just start my own podcast? That has become the predominant
because
source
it could,
of media.
yeah, because just about anybody can do this kind of thing now, which is kind of cool. But in a way, it's
Well,
like,
Yeah, it
I
also
wish,
dilutes
like,
the
I-
market really bad.
well, yeah, now it's. I mean, you think of the Anchorman 2 line where it's like, yeah, it's true, the market's become quite saturated. So the problem is now you're trying to cast your little fucking little fly right out there into this giant ocean of like content, which again is good. You can find a lot of things, a lot of different things you might like, some you might not like, but I mean, now you're just swimming in the fucking ocean with everybody else. So
Well, it's not even just
proper shit when people
podcasts.
come
What
by. I'm just saying.
I mean,
I wish I would have got my foot in
even-
the door when YouTube first came out. Damn it.
even podcasts have evolved. It used to be, oh yeah, well, let me go to, Spotify, Odyssey, whichever app you use. Now the podcasts have evolved to like what Tucker Carlson or Jim Rome, they're doing their own shows on like Twitter X and using the podcast platform. So this whole technology, internet radio or, pirate radio, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of what it's advanced to. I mean, if you want to look at it, I mean, hell, Tucker, a interview with Tucker Carlson that he produces on his own outdoes, what your mainstream media does these days. And, kind of what those two Asian guys in this movie, they're doing, they had the cool setup with the cameras and the one guy looks like he's painted up like an old Asian woman with the white makeup and the whatever, I guess to the side, but a kabuki. Yeah. I couldn't, thank you. I was trying to think of the word. They were like the prototype for what would come later, with the self-broadcasting that we're all doing, or a lot of us do these days. And,
which I got a lot of Max Headroom vibes from that too.
I was waiting for somebody to say that.
Yeah. Now, I will say I dug the whole hangout, not the club they had where they all danced, but where they had the big like video games. It looked like a Dave and Buster's nowadays with these gigantic video games and whatever. That's kind of what it reminded me of. That did look pretty cool, but I dug that.
So let's talk for a minute about the possibility of a sequel. I mean, this has been floated.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
It's been floated out there. I think Ian Salfie, the director of this film, even said that there has been talk. There has been ideas. He was quoted in September of 2020 in an interview with Collider to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the film. Salfie did say that there were active discussions regarding a sequel. I don't think that obviously doesn't mean that.
That could have been over lunch. That could have been anything.
Yeah,
during COVID, so
maybe somebody was just like, "Hey, nostalgia is all in the mix right now. Everybody loves to go back to what is old to make it new again." Maybe this is one of those things. And I'll go to you first, Tex. Is there an avenue for a sequel to this movie?
Oh God, yeah. Well, how much? I mean, we were just Keaton and I earlier were just before we went live, we were just talking about Bluetooth headsets and everything else. Think of the possibilities technology wise. I mean, this thing is wide open in so many areas for a sequel. Instead of this clunky laptop or keyboard that looks like it belongs on the deck of a cruise ship, you can have a set
right there.
We have more technology. I am on a cell phone doing this podcast right now. I have more technology in front of me that fits in my pocket than that entire room has right there. There's room for a sequel here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could take it a million different ways. I mean, anytime we do a retro review, we're looking for an angle or a plot thread that wasn't left over. You don't have to worry about a plot thread. You could have Angelina Jolie pop up as a cameo and be like, "Oh yeah, well, yeah. I used to hack whenever I was young," and then there's a whole new crew taking on a new threat or whatever it is, and you could go crazy with it. I mean, technology lends itself to that. So heck yeah.
Jeremy, what do you think? The possibility of a sequel, is there an avenue for it, and what would you do with it?
That's the thing, like Tex was saying, like just realistically, yeah, in a short 30 years, honestly, this technology.
We made leaps and bounds,
This is a crazy fucking place right now. So it's not, but I mean, the exciting part is, like we said, it's not as, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like, not like you said, they're kind of like just like pirates of this, high seas of the, cyber world. It's like, yeah, there's more measures in place now. There's things you can't call the bank and be like, yeah, my BLT shorted out. What's the routing number for the, what I mean? You can't do that. So
you could do like a knockoff of Elon Musk with the brain chip thing. That'd be kind of interesting.
That's what I mean. You like your stakes and your, that shit can be a lot higher. There's more, there's more obstacles to overcome. So it could lend itself to be more, it can still have its style, and there might be more of more serious threat you can try to overcome. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what. Yeah, you'd have to maybe do it with a new group of people, because I don't know if which I don't know how old Angelina Jolie is now. She's in her her 50s or something.
I think
She ain't nearly as hot as she used to be.
She's not, but I mean, I'll be honest. Like her and Johnny Lee Miller, they both aged well. I mean, with Angelina Jolie, it's a lot of the work she's had done is impacted, of course. But I mean, I've seen Johnny Lee Miller recently. He actually did a. I think he was on most of a season of Dexter. He was one of the guys that Dexter was after. So, so I mean, he's still in the game. He's still acting. Like I said, he just did 6 or 8 seasons of Elementary, where he played a modern version of Sherlock Holmes in New York. So I mean, the guy's out there, and he was just on The Crown a couple of seasons ago. So the guy's out there. They still both look like they could step back into these characters just in their 45, 50-year-old version.
But I'm just like, but what are they going to be doing at this point now?
Well, I think I'd go reboot those.
But I'm like, where does that kind of lead? Like, what is there to do with these characters now, 30 some years down the line? Though, I mean, I can imagine Matthew Lillard being like some really quirky fucking like IT guy or some shit. You know what I mean? He's just kind of he's still crawling under desks and be like, nope, it's somewhere else. I don't know. You know what I mean? Just being himself. I don't know. I think you have to do cameo roles with these people, and again, like I said, you can make it something pretty serious. I don't know. You could still maybe do what's his name as the villain. Like you could just be like an older and still got like a chip on his shoulder.
Well,
I don't know.
You do get to see what he looks like as an older man at the end of this movie with the with the knockoff Einstein wig and mustache combo. So why not?
You know what, that one wasn't. Well, it wasn't quite as aggressive. It's like it's kind of telegraphed. They're like, what do you need, sir? Like a pillow. It slinks behind his head. I'm like, I swear to God, the agent's right there. I'm like, God damn it! You just come out of nowhere for no reason. I love it.
How did you not see the guy with the gun in his hand, you idiot?
Right. I'm like, I don't know how. I understand just trying to lay low, but damn, dude. They were like rows 2, 3, 4, and 5 behind you and in the other aisle. Oh my God.
Right.
Awful lot of suits on this flight. Jesus. What's going on?
They were here the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Freaky Jeebus, what do you think? Is there an avenue here for a remake, and what would you do with it?
Well, one, I was really surprised that there haven't been like 2 or 3 direct-to-DVD sequels.
True.
Like I just thought this would be that kind of thing. But and my immediate thought when it came to that was why, like 5 years later, was there not Hackers Y2K? That would have been a great sequel. If
we're gonna save humanity,
Yeah, exactly. But for
maybe a year
like
later,
modern, for like modern, I mean, Tex already hit on what I had thought is like you bring in Miller, Jolie, and Lillard as like older. I don't know what they'd be doing, but they're the threat is AI. That's what you bring into it, and then they bring in the younger crew to help them out with that. And that's what I would do. Like AI is right there. It's the big thing right now, the big talking point. So that's either the villain or that's what the villain is utilizing, I guess.
For me, look, I think you find another young upcoming cast. There's plenty of people out there, and maybe even throw in the guy like Glenn Powell, somehow make him the FBI agent that's coming after him. One of those big up and coming, good looking guys, just to draw some eyes to it. And then you go find some other kids, some up and coming actors, or 18, 19, 20 years old to do their thing. There's no reason why you couldn't bring back Angelina Jolie and Matthew Lillard and at least most of the main cast in this movie. They're all still acting. They're all still active. They're all still out there.
Right.
Especially Angelina Jolie. I bet you she'd come back and do it. I mean, from what I've read things, she actually speaks very highly of this movie. She said she thought it was a lot of fun doing it. But so yeah, I think that this could work. And you know, and like Kenton was saying, you've got AI out there now is the big fear. You've got Neuralink is out there, and people have their concerns with that. You've got a lot of political stuff happening between countries where countries are trying to hack back and forth on each other. That could be something that could be a potential plot point. I mean, it's not like with the way the computer age has evolved, it's not like there aren't a million more things that you could work into a script now that you didn't even dream about back in 1990 when you were writing the script for this movie. I mean, who knew that, you know, China trying to hack the U.S. defense database was going to actually be a thing? You could have told anybody that.
That wasn't on my bingo card.
Yeah, that would anybody.
No.
I mean, who knew that it was going to get to this level? So yeah, I think there's a lot of avenues to modernize this and make it very interesting for the times that we live in today, especially when it surrounds AI. It's like that stuff is so current and still so misunderstood by so many average people like us that I think you could really throw that out there. And even if you embellish a little bit and make it a bit outlandish, even for AI, I think there's plenty of stuff out there that you could give a story a lot of substance and really get people engrossed in the film. What were you saying, Tex?
Yeah, exactly what they thought of the internet at the time, you know, because like they didn't really fully understand, and they definitely embellished on just the concept of the internet at the time. So just do that with AI, you know, exactly the same way.
I was going to say, we do have an opportunity here to revive two kind of dead franchises. And Jeremy mentioned the other one earlier. We make this a period piece before Judgment Day, and the hackers have to take down Skynet, and we get, you know, do the whole Terminator thing, bring them back, because obviously, at this point, we can't do any worse with the Terminator timeline. I mean, that thing is a nuclear waste pit of just.
Point, why not?
Who knows at this point? I mean, why not? That's the attitude I'm looking for right there. Why not? So we bring back, you know, James Cameron, because we know he likes to jerk himself off with Terminator movies. And we do this thing. You know, hackers have to take down Skynet. That could be interesting. You can have Matthew Lillard being all weird with his frontward ponytails in his hair and his black nail polish, acting all kooky as a grandpa. Angelina Jolie's trying to look moody and hot as a 60-year-old grandma. You know, it'll be a great film. There's your movie right there. So
the problem with that is James Cameron isn't doing anything except for Avatar for the rest of his life. So.
Well, you know, that is true. He stopped jerking off to Terminators, you know, and he switched to blue people that have tails. So, you know, I forgot he has a new thing that he's into now. But I'm sure he'd be more than happy to make some more money off of the IP of Terminator. But you know, let's bring them both back. Why not? Go nuts.
We have fucked that timeline so fucking bad. I think the last one I watched
Hackers fix the timeline. There's the title of the movie. Hackers fix the timeline. They go through space to fix it. There you go.
At this point, I think I'd just rather Deadpool fix it because he killed Ryan Reynolds to save us all. Okay, from Greenland. So.
Hey, I'm still pitching. That's how you save Marvel. In Deadpool 3, Deadpool kills everybody, and we don't see a Marvel movie for 10 years. That's how you fix Marvel right there, buddy. I got your plan, Disney.
Marvel Jesus.
I'm hearing rumors about what Deadpool 3 is going to look like. I don't know if any of them are true, but I'm hearing rumors.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Look, I'm with you guys. Like AI, there's something there. There has to be. It's too current. It's too misunderstood by so many people. Again, Neuralink is a thing. Yeah. Work a political angle into it. Like maybe do it the way Top Gun Maverick did. Don't really identify the country. Just saying that some country. So the bad country, we'll call them the bad country. Doesn't matter what the name of it. The bad country is trying to hack and explode all of our nuclear missiles in their silos and turn America into a nuclear wasteland. Let's just that's been done.
Right.
Let's just say
it opens up on the Fallout TV show.
Yep, and then they can't stop it. It all happens. And then it's a backdoor pilot to Fallout.
So wait,
the post-credit
instead of opening
is the next trailer for Fallout.
Hold on, which is messed up.
Instead of opening up to Tom Cruise on a motorcycle, we open up to Matthew Lillard rollerblading through the streets of New York City, cruising up into his computer shop. And that's how we see our hero of our movie right there, buddy. There we go.
Beautiful.
Now we're cooking. I like it.
I was going to say the thing that makes Fallout kind of scary is like the thing was that we got into a resource war with China. which if I didn't tell you
Oh,
right
kind
now,
of like now, kind of like the shortages
like I
we're
said, if
dealing
I
with.
didn't just
Oh,
preface
that's funny.
that was the premise of Fallout, you'd be like, oh yeah, that could happen next
Yeah.
week. I'm like, yeah, and then
Right,
eventually,
yeah.
you know, the two biggest kids on the block start fucking fighting, and boom, that's it. It's over. So
Yeah.
that's what makes that story kind of scary, because if you listen to how it led up to that point, like it's kind of happening, and it's kind of scary. So,
Let's get
although it
into
won't
some
happen for
trivia.
like another 50, 60 years, so it'll be
Probably not. I'd like to see a sequel to this movie, not a remake. I want a straight up sequel because I think Angelina Jolie, John Lee Miller, and those guys can come back, especially Matthew Lillard. I mean, because he's been back in the public consciousness way more so than lately.
Right.
Over the last couple of years, especially with the rumors of him possibly returning as Stu in the next movie. He always comes back. He'll be right back. But yeah, I think it's doable. I think it's doable. And I guarantee all three of those people, if you looked at them and said, hey, I've got an idea, I'll pitch you a great idea, they'd be like, okay. If they like it, they'd be like, I'd be willing to do that. But let's move into a couple of trivia stuff now. Let's see. The hacking sequences, the scenes where you see inside of the computer, are mostly motion controlled models, because director Ian Softly thought that actual computer graphics would look too artificial. I actually disagree with him. I think that's the whole point of the damn movie.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you want to look too obvious. That'll look too bright and flashy, and then also you're going to get so many Tron like comparisons. So I don't know. Maybe you just didn't want to. I like the practical look of it. It looks you're really just kind of doing your Death Star trench run through a circuit board. I mean, it looks kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Use the force, Matthew Lillard.
He did. Hey, he did say that line. He told him like, "Hey, may the force be with
you."
He did say that. So
let's see. What's my next one? The computer they break into is a fictional mainframe. It's a fictional mainframe computer called the Gibson. This is an homage to cyberpunk author William Gibson, who wrote about a lot of computer stuff in his books, most notoriously The Neuromancer, a novel from 1984.
yeah, that's a good year.
This guy,
kind of a prophetic year, you know.
This guy, William Gibson, actually coined the term cyberspace.
Nice. Well,
he is the first one that actually said that term in his book, actually.
I'll be.
So yeah, paying homage to him makes perfect sense. Let's see. The high school scenes were filmed at Stuyvesant High School in Manhattan, one of the few elite exclusive high schools for students gifted in math, science, and computers. Real school seniors were extras in many of the scenes. And it should be noted that in the real school, there is a pool on the first floor.
Nice.
I did like that prank though. Oh, have you seen the pool on the roof? That's totally something I would have done in high school. Like that is totally a move I would have pulled on somebody.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, Kent was there. I'm like, wasn't that a joke? I think that we said there was a pool on the top of the. I swear someone told me that. I'm pretty sure it was because of this movie.
Maybe.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was in when I first moved to Ohio in '91, my freshman year of high school, they tried to pull that joke on me. So a couple of years before this movie ever came out, they were hitting me with that at my high school, and I was like, "Guys, come on!" Like, I'm not an idiot. Let's be honest here. I mean, even at 16, it's stupid. I was like, "Yeah, I'm seeing right through your bullshit."
Well, I mean, I kind of looked at it for a second. I was like, it could fit up there, but I'm like, there's no way.
I did like the touch of the movie ending with them in a pool on the roof.
Oh, of course.
True.
Yeah.
True. Let's see. In the scenes in the movie and in Razor and Blade show, depict using a cassette recorder to play tones into a phone to make free calls. Coins actually dropped into payphones used to trigger specific sounds that actually could be duplicated and used to fool payphones into thinking you had paid for a call. This was also accomplished using a device called a tone generator, which was also known as a red box. A thing that he actually did in War Games too, as I recall. Matthew Broderick did.
Also in the movie The Core, when he grabs Aaron Eckhart's phone and he takes that piece of gum wrapper and like makes a sound and like right into his phone. He's like, "There you go, you got free long distance for life." I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that's a real thing though. I was like, you think that shit's goofy? I'm like, no, that's real. It's wild.
That's funny.
Yeah, I remember that scene now.
Yeah.
I like DJ Qualls. I don't know where the hell he went to. He just kind of disappeared. He was always really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Let's see. The cast were actually given 3 weeks to hang out together and get to know each other better and to learn how to rollerblade properly before filming began. They also spent most of that time studying computers and hacking. Johnny Lee Miller actually attended a hacking convention.
So
Really?
Wow.
I could
They
imagine
actually,
how many nerds were in a hackers convention. I mean, the virginity was on max that day. I guarantee you. So,
How bad did it smell?
yeah.
that too, yeah. The BO in that place was rancid. I guarantee you.
As somebody who goes to Comic-Con, like, unwashed nerd is not a good smell.
even
Right.
back
Oh,
then,
I know.
there was,
I've been to the horror cons. I know the smell. I'm very familiar, unfortunately.
I tried so hard, man, but like when I wore that Doom
Oh.
outfit, I'm like, I've got like 4 layers of shit on, fake fucking padded muscles. Armor. Like, God, I was sweating so bad. And I put shit on. I took every precaution. And it was
Yeah.
it was bad. I need to make it a little more streamlined.
there is actually
Or
a
as
specific,
Rachel says, I need to have a sluttier cosplay because goddamn, I'm tired of sweating my ass off.
there is actually an organization that they consulted with for this movie, and this existed back in 1995. For research, Moreau, one of the writers, went to a meeting organized by the New York-based hacker magazine 2600 The Hacker Quarterly, which is a hacker magazine that I think still runs. It still operates.
Wow.
There he met someone named Fiber Optic, a.k.a. Mark Abeen, a 22-year-old hacker who spent most of 1994 in prison on hacking charges. He also hung out with young hackers harassed by the government and began to figure out how it would translate into a film. He remembered one guy was talking about how he had done some really interesting stuff with a laptop and payphones, and that cracked the script for me because it made it cinematic. The character Eugene Belford uses Babbage as a pseudonym at the end of the film when he gets caught. He referenced Charles Babbage, an inventor of an early form of computers. That was back in the early 1900s.
Oh, Jesus,
the fictional computer mainframe named the Gibson was an honor. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so they actually consulted like people who were really hackers at the time, way early in this world of computers. They already existed.
Wow.
I want to know what that magazine's like now. Then, like you said, with the things of like AI and how the internet's progressed since then. I'm like, I want to know what that's what's the content at now, because that could be your next. There's your sequel.
Could be. It says the Hacker 2600. The Hacker Quarterly is an American seasonal publication. I don't know what it means by seasonal. Of technical information articles, many of which are written and submitted by the readership on a variety of subjects, including hacking, telephone switching systems, internet protocols and services, as well as general news concerning the computer underground. With origins in the phone freaking community in late 20th century counterculture, let's see, the transition to coverage of modern hacker culture, the magazine has become a platform for speaking out against increased digital surveillance and advocacy of personal and digital freedoms. And the editor of this magazine, get this, his name is Emmanuel Goldstein.
Well,
Matthew Lillard's character's name in the movie.
Yep.
Wow.
Nice.
Actually, I think he was the, I think I read something about this. I think he is the founder. I don't know if he is still currently.
That had to be something there to be something there for that then.
No, he is still listed as the editor.
Well, that's what Lillard is doing in the sequel. Then he's the magazine
He can be
guy.
the editor of 2600.
Oh my God, that'd be good. That'd be a good tie-in.
We're writing a sequel for you, people. Come
right. You just had
We
us
do that
break.
every week, though.
We're cheap. We're right here.
You can go back to every episode, every movie that we cover here on this podcast. We are a treasure trove of ideas, Holly Weird. I know you. We will work non-union. We come cheap. Just give us the keys to some of these franchises. That's all we're asking for here.
Just
not
give us
that big a
key
deal.
to the pool on the roof. We're fine.
Yeah, we'll make Casey our pool boy up on the roof, and he'll stay there. It'll be fine. It won't be a big problem. It'll be cool.
Pool boys are supposed to dress kind of scantily. And
I was don't give him.
Maybe not Casey. Maybe we'll make him wear board shorts and a t-shirt. At least.
Frank, there's not actually a pool on the roof. That's why we send him there. That's why. That's the funny
joke. The mere thought of him in spandex though is terrifying. Let's be honest here. Speaking of the pool on the roof, the pool on the roof prank is actually based on an old Stuyvesant High School prank of the quote 6th floor pool. The original Stuyvesant building on East 15th Street in Manhattan had only 5 floors, and freshmen were sent to look for the pool upstairs. The building, of course, had no pool. There was a literary publication at Stuyvesant referencing the prank called 6-4 Pool. The school moved into a new building, which was actually featured in this movie shortly before filming began.
Nice. Yeah, it's just like when you send the Cub Scouts out on a snipe hunt in the middle of the night. You just leave them there.
Well, that's what I was about to say. We didn't have I graduated in a class of less than 30 people. So there was no 6th floor pool in my school. Okay. It was very much a different world that I wasn't a second floor. Right. I mean, if you wanted a pool, you went and dug a hole and got a mud pit. So we had the whole snipe hunt thing, which was always fun. You know, that's how you could tell who was full of crap or whatever. But yeah, no, it is a funny prank though. I will give him credit for that. So.
Yeah, you give him a trash bag and you say you got to squat over this fucking hole. You got to stay there and you wait. You got to be quick because he'll come out of that hole. Just you leave him in the woods.
You had to use a pillowcase because, well, the reason we said a pillowcase was because, you know, it's got like your human pheromones on it and the snipe can smell it and they think you're prey. And that's why you have your stick to beat them to death whenever they come at you. So, you know, we had a whole backstory worked up and everything. So,
but it was a whole thing. They fall for just like, here, just squat over this hole and hold a bag. Don't move. It's just so fucking funny. You look behind you, you're like, yeah, dumbass. I'm going to sleep.
You know, Stuyvesant High School actually became really, I don't want to say popular. I don't feel like that's the word. But Stuyvesant High School now, it's only about a half mile from the World Trade Center. So when all that shit went down on 9/11, they actually locked the school down, and we're just starting to slowly release students out. And then there was I don't remember exactly how it went down. There's actually a documentary about this on Amazon, I think, called Stuyvesant. And as shit was popping off at Ground Zero, some cop thought that there was a bomb threat, and so they were like rushing to evacuate the school even before the first building fell. Because somebody had said there was a bomb in the building. And then, of course, they started moving everybody up north away from the district, the southern tip of Manhattan. And then the building fell, and then they were just like, okay, we're getting the fuck out of here right now. So but there's a whole documentary about it on Prime, I think, about Stuyvesant High School and what went down. Actually, I think they also shot a few scenes for Spider-Man, the newer stuff. I think they've also shot some of that stuff there because that's kind of what Stuyvesant High School is. It's for like really smart people. So it's kind of like the Manhattan School of Science or whatever the hell it is that Peter Parker goes to in the newer Spider-Man stuff.
What's the school called?
Don't ask me to spell it.
That's what I'm trying to do.
It's a really weird spelling. It's Stuyvesant.
Oh my!
Stupid.
Okay,
yeah,
hold on.
It's
Thank you, autofill, because I got lost.
It's pronounced Stuyvesant, but it's Stuy.
Yeah.
VES.
Yeah. But I don't guess I'm smart enough to understand that name. Then I don't qualify.
The Y is the U is silent. I don't know, but yeah, there's a documentary about everything that went down at that school that day, and it's. I mean, just the fact that these high school students were a half a mile away from all that shit that went down is kind of crazy.
I'm looking at the map of like, where is that? Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, it's awfully close. But let's see. The Plague. He actually writes a program that embezzles small amounts of money from the company at a time, thus amassing millions of dollars in a secret bank account. He tries to distract from this crime by framing the hackers with a computer virus set to capsize an oil tanker. The embezzlement by increments plot is called salami slicing. Richard Pryor's character in Superman 3 in 1983 does the exact same thing.
Well, wasn't this also,
not to mention Office Space.
Wow.
Because I like stopped the movie. I was like, wait, didn't they do this in Office Space? And I'm like, yeah, they did it in Superman 3. It's the same damn thing.
I totally erased the plot of Superman 3 out of my memory bank of movie stuff. I didn't even realize that.
Superman 3 was all right. Not as good as the first two, obviously, but it was all right. Superman 4 should have done it.
Yo, I clicked on the map for this thing and I saw it and it tried to go away. I zoomed back in. You know what's like 4 or 5 blocks from there is the fucking firehouse from Ghostbusters. It's like right down the road from there.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. When I see Ghostbusters headquarters, I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, the firehouse from the movie. Yeah. That's insane. All right.
Let's see the Cyberdella. I thought I had a picture of the Cyberdella. I guess I do not. The Cyberdella was built from scratch in an abandoned indoor swimming pool on the outskirts of London, with the center of the club in the depths of what was the pool. Producer Ralph Winter noted that we never knew why the pool was designated a historic landmark, so great care had to be taken not to damage anything and to return it to its original state after we were done filming. I'm trying to trip down as to why they didn't just film this whole damn thing in New York. It's like,
Yeah.
Really?
It's more expensive. I mean, it's the same reason why a lot of times, they don't film in like LA because it's more expensive. So the director will go and get some B-roll of the New York City or the LA skyline, just enough to enter into shots later on, and they go film it in the middle of nowhere, wherever, just because it's cheaper production wise. I mean, that's why Canada. Is it Toronto that gets used for New York all the time, or is it another Canadian city?
They film a bunch of shit in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd say the most famous one is Jason Goes to Manhattan. Well, he really went to Toronto with some B footage of New York thrown in on top of it. They've done it in a million different things. So.
A lot of times it has to do with whatever tax breaks they're getting.
Right.
California is known for giving a lot of tax breaks to the production companies, so that's why they film a lot of stuff in California. It's not that and the proximity to the studio, of course. But but usually it's like Georgia's known for giving big tax breaks to filming. That's why they built Pinewood, Georgia.
Well, yeah, because Georgia has studios built there now. I mean, that's the whole thing.
And then of course Pinewood in England has been. I mean, that's kind of what that town does. Is they're just a big filming complex. They filmed James Bond, the first Alien movie. They filmed so much shit there. But
doesn't Pinewood have a studio here in America as well? Isn't theirs in Georgia?
Georgia, Pinewood, Georgia.
Yeah.
That's where they film. That's where they film all the Marvel stuff.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
That's why Marvel was threatening to stop shooting stuff in Pinewood because Georgia passed some anti-abortion law, and Marvel was like, "Well, we're not going to."
Oh, of course they did.
And then, of course, they kept filming everything there because what the hell are you going to do? You're going to go to LA where it's going to cost you more?
Right. Are you going to go somewhere else? Yeah.
It was
bye. Good luck. See ya.
Yeah. Let's see. Go to Pinewood to London. That's going to be cheaper. But let's see. At the beginning of the movie, let's see. There is an incident where a young Dade Murphy is on trial due to a virus he released, which crashed over 1,507 computers, including Wall Street. A real-life incident similar to this occurred in 1988, which did exactly the same thing. It's known as the Robert Morris worm, and the effects of this worm were even more destructive than what was depicted in this movie, as it crashed over 2,000 computers. 6,000 Unix machines were affected, and the cost of damages was estimated at $10 million for this one hack alone. That was 1988.
In 1980, that's insane. Damn.
Yeah, watching this movie made me want to just unplug all the devices in my home and go become Amish. I'll be real honest with you. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to go wear a weird hat and be, See? As soon as I say something,
wow,
it has to happen every show. My internet hates me. I mean, this is a sign. I need to just go completely off the grid. There it is, right there.
Before they find you,
yeah. There's a reason why I limit my connectivity. It's like my brother a couple of years ago for Christmas got me and Jennifer one of the Google Nest or Google Assistant, whatever it is. It's just this little thing. It just sits on a desk or a table or whatever. We never really used it for much other than just the display had the weather on it. So we glanced at it and see what the weather for the day was going to be and stuff like that. Mostly we just used it for timing because it sat on the island of our house that we had at the time in the kitchen. So whenever we throw something in the oven, we'd be like, hey, Google, set a timer for 40 minutes or whatever. That's pretty much all we use it for.
Right.
But it's I don't need that kind of connectivity. Yeah. I did a job at a customer.
Yeah, we're too reliant on tech. Yeah.
I did a job at a customer's house several months ago where I was doing some installation stuff for him, and he had everything voice activated in his house. So I walked down with him to where all the cables was coming to the house, and he says, maybe it was Alexa. He goes, Alexa, workshop lights, and then all the lights slowly come on like you would walk into a room in Star Trek or some shit like that. And I just kind of looked around and I was like, are we really so lazy that we can't just walk over to a wall and go on a switch, just go click? I was like, are we really that lazy?
Dude, they have grills. They have smoker pit grills where literally all you have to do is just turn it on, put your meat inside of it, close the lid, and your phone will tell you when you need to flip the brisket or when it's done or what the tent like. People don't even grill for themselves anymore. People are so reliant on technology. It's sickening. I know people who have their washer and dryer hooked up to the grid of their home so they know like, do you really need that much technology? Like, what are you going to do if an EMP goes off? You're going to die in 3 days because you're screwed. So you have no life skills. God forbid your air conditioner don't come on. Well, what are you going to do? It's terrible.
Yeah, there's too much connectivity for me sometimes. I just don't need it.
That whole thing. Also, like with the whole trial of the kid at the beginning too reminded me of. I don't know if you guys saw this story from like maybe a month or so ago. That kid that was like arrested and like sentenced to like a basically permanent jail, I guess, or maybe institutionalized because he just could not stop hacking things. And they arrested him, and then they were holding him in a hotel room. And while he was in the hotel room, he was able to hack into stuff just using the Amazon Fire Stick that they had in there. It's like, you can't stop me. I will just keep hacking. And
so he needs to be sent to the middle of Amish country and left there.
He's in his room smoking cigarette. Like, I'm not addicted to that. I'm fine.
Right. At that point, you don't punish him. You give him a fucking job.
Yeah, I'm like,
you say, hey, if this is your skill and you're going to do it anyway, we may as well put you to fucking work. Here's the IP address for a Chinese computer we've been trying to get into. Knock yourself out.
Right. So hang on, wait. Is this the origin story for MacGyver? Like, is that how he became himself? Because that sounds like a very similar plot line here. So.
Yeah, MacGyver wasn't a computer guy though. He was a practical effects guy.
Well, yeah, but MacGyver could. If you gave him a stick of gum, 3 inches of fishing line, and a square of duct tape, he could build you a nuclear bomb. Okay, like that's the similar, smarts I'm talking about here. So I could see somebody doing it like that.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Let's see. The people that could have been the character instead of Angelina Jolie, Ian Softly auditioned Hilary Swank, Heather Graham, which blows my mind, and Liv Tyler for the role, which ultimately went to Angelina Jolie. I swear to God, Hilary Swank, I know had done stuff in the because she did the next back in the 90s. Heather Graham, as I sit and think about it now, Heather Graham did Boogie Nights in the late 90s, so she probably would have been of age. Liv Tyler, God, I mean, she was doing the videos for her dad's band for Aerosmith, right in the late 90s. So yeah, I guess it does. But Heather Graham is the one that I read that, and I was like, I feel like she would have been too young, but it was 1999, I think, or 98 or 99.
So
that you got her.
Armageddon. What year did that come out?
98.
So say Liv Tyler was in that as well. She was.
Had Liv Tyler done Empire Records yet?
Oh yeah, Empire Records was right about this time. It was 94, 95.
Oh, that's probably why she wasn't in this. She was probably busy with that.
That's fair.
I wouldn't wanted to have seen Horse Teeth Hilary Swank in this movie.
1995 was Empire Records. It was the same year as this.
Okay, yeah, she was busy.
But like I said, she had been doing Aerosmith videos.
Angelina Jolie was better for this.
Yeah,
I kind of like Angelina Jolie better for this. Liv Tyler's got a look about her though that's similar to Angelina Jolie.
She's got that same eyes.
Well,
those
it kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning of this, though. All of the main guys are very kind of joking around, kiddie, kind of effeminate kind of role. Angelina Jolie actually has some balls to her, which is funny because she's the only female in the group. So she was kind of the serious one to kind of play off of, Matthew Lillard and his shenanigans and, the chain smoking kid and, whatever. You needed her. I mean, that picture you showed earlier where Matthew Lillard and her standing in front of the blackboard or whatever is kind of funny because she's kind of playing the straight role wearing the hockey jersey while Matthew is over there in the half shirt looking like somebody's girlfriend. So, it kind of fits with her role in this film. So I couldn't have seen any of those others but her in this one, I don't think.
I do agree with you. I didn't mention it before, but she was probably my favorite role in the movie. Like, I think she did the best with what she had. I mean, she was. I wouldn't want to see anybody else but her.
But like I said,
no,
Liv Tyler would have been interesting. She has that kind of look. She has a more edgy look like Angelina Jolie has in this movie. Heather Graham is just.
But she's so soft though. Like she has a very warm presence about her. Angelina Jolie has like kind of a bad girl vibe when you just look at her in general. Liv Tyler doesn't have that.
She looks like she could kick any of their asses at any moment.
Yeah.
Right. Like with Liv Tyler, she has like a girl next door vibe, which works for her with the roles that she had in like The Strangers or Armageddon, whatever it is. But Angelina, I mean, she was Tomb Raider. She's Gone in 60 Seconds. All of these big movies that she has that bad girl hard edge to her, which I think is.
But like I said, that's just her. She's like Tom Cruise. She plays
right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But how many people do that? Vin Diesel does it. The Rock does it. So many big famous actors, they just play themselves and it works. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing to be Hugh Jackman. I mean, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. It's just one of those things. So,
I think Hugh Jackman's got way better range than that.
Have you seen The Prestige? Holy shit!
I mean, remember?
He's great in that.
Before Wolverine, he was in musical theater. He was doing Oklahoma and shit like
that.
And then you'll watch Wolverine or any of the X-Men stuff or any of the other movies he's been in, and then watch something like Kate and Leopold, which is like a rom-com, or watch Les Mis, which is a straight up musical. His range is huge. I mean, that guy is way more talented than he gets credit for.
How many of the action stars of the 80s just played themselves? Chuck Norris, Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme. There was an entire decade of people who was just insert action star's name above the title and people go pay money to see it. And Angelina Jolie is one of those kind of actors.
A lot of these guys, though, their careers fizzled when those movies went away. I mean, look at Michael Dudikoff.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
He's known for one role. He's known as the guy from the American Ninja movies. Every other thing he's been in has not been big. It's been straight to video.
I'll be right back.
And he's got better range than some actors. But I mean, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just a matter of taste. Maybe I'm not noticing something. I don't know. But yeah, I think I could have seen Liv Tyler. I think she's got a look about her. She looks edgy.
I'd agree with that.
Look at the Aerosmith videos. She's got a kind of edgy feel about her on the Aerosmith videos. Now, maybe not in the movies necessarily, but I mean, you can put the same kind of makeup on her that you put on Angelina Jolie in this movie, and maybe it's just something about her eyes. She's got that crazy eye color that is not off-putting. It's disturbing. It's like you see the pretty face, and then the eyes are like a whole different thing. Her eyes. She does have
a bit of intensity to her, like in Fellowship of the Ring, and she's,
I was just thinking, like, when she whips that sword out, she's like, come get him. I was like, oh, shit. She ain't playing. Yeah.
But anyway, more potential casting stuff that could have gone down. Let's see. I need a good picture for this one. That'll work. The part of Kate Acid-Burn Libby was originally offered to Katherine Heigl, but due to prior commitments to the film Under Siege 2 Dark Territory, which came out the same year, she had to turn it down. Wow. Talk about somebody who I wouldn't want to see in this role. It's Katherine.
No. Yeah. I don't think we want to see Katherine Heigl like just
look. I have not been the biggest fan of Grey's Anatomy. I've sat and watched a couple of episodes because some girl that I was dating at the time when that show had started 200 years ago wanted to watch it, and I was like, I'll try it because I want to touch some butt later tonight, so I'll sit through it. But God, I mean, she's so rigid. She's so rigid.
Yeah.
I've never.
Something's off-putting about her.
Different movies that she's been in, stuff like that. I've never really looked at her and thought this is an actress who really hammers it home. She really
she's just not. Go ahead. Everything I've heard about her personality-wise, like, is just bad. Like, anytime I hear a story about her as a person, she's seemed like it's all bad stuff. Just like treating other people like shit.
I've heard stories about her being terrible to work with.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because it's like, what was the one that she did with fucking what's his name?
Knocked Up.
Pregnancy.
Rogan.
Knocked Up. That was the one. It's like It's like I saw that movie and I was like, she's got some comedic chops. She's funny. I feel like that she was being a bit more natural in that movie. But I've seen her in other stuff and I'm like, you're the pretty blonde girl and you know it, and you think that you're just going to get on camera and say lines and that's going to work because that's kind of what's always worked in Hollywood. But the pretty blonde girls that have had success, they actually know how to act. They actually know how to deliver dialogue. You just go up there and you're like, I'm the pretty blonde girl saying pretty blonde girl things, and now put me in a movie. It's like you're not that good. It's like it's more than that. It's like somebody we talked about a minute ago, Heather Graham. It count the same. I mean, you would think it's the same thing, but Heather Graham can act. She's got a camera presence, whereas Katherine Heigl's just like okay, here's my lines. To be or not to be. I'm the pretty blonde girl. Write me a big check.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, just get over yourself. Practice your craft.
Until you've seen Katherine Heigl playing off of a killer Chucky doll, you haven't lived. Just go watch some Bride of Chucky. You'll see her best work. So just go watch that.
Though, if that's the peak of her career, that's pretty sad. I mean, we enjoy that because we're niche fans like that. But it's like, if that's the peak, look. If you would have said Jennifer Aniston, the peak of Jennifer Aniston's career was Leprechaun.
Oh,
I mean, if she'd have gone through 100 years of Friends and all that show became, and she'd have gone through all the movies, whatever that Apple Plus show that she's on now, which apparently is good. I've never watched it. It's like if you'd have said that that's the high point of her career, that's where she peaked. Who would know who Jennifer Aniston is right now? It's like we only know who Katherine Heigl is because she's been on most of the seasons of that show that everybody really liked, the girls really like, and that draws some eyes. She's on that Grey's Anatomy soap opera, which is all it is. It's like that's why she's known, and she acts like she's a big star because of it. I'm like, you've been on one thing that's been successful. It wasn't successful because of you. So calm the fuck down with your arrogance. It's like, let's face it, you were like the third or fourth biggest star on that show. Other people have gone on to do other things, and you are like one of the other girls in that show got her own spinoff. So you weren't even good enough for your own spinoff. It's like you were a part-time player. So deal with it. But it also says on here, it doesn't say what role, although I can imagine which one it was. Edward Norton actually auditioned for an undisclosed role in this film.
Oh.
And I'm sitting here looking around, and I'm trying to think to myself, what was Edward Norton doing around this time? This was really the beginning of his film career because his first
Fight Club wasn't later. That was
his first film role was Primal Fear in '96 with Richard Gere.
Great movie. Great movie.
And then he did People versus Larry Flint that year, which we'll get to, I promise.
Yeah.
And then he did American History X, which is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. That's another. In 1998, I'll give you a love on that one, Jay.
Come on, Fight Club. Say it. It's still the 90s.
And then Fight Club, which I don't think it's that's a generational movie. That doesn't belong to any decade. That is just a generational movie. And then, of course, you got the score and other stuff. Red Dragon, where he played Will Graham, the earliest version of Hannibal Lecter before Silence of the Lambs, an Italian Job, and all the stuff he would eventually do. But part of me wonders, would he have been a good Dade, or would he have fit in more as like what Matthew Illard played with Serial Killer? I
couldn't see him being goofy.
No,
yeah, he looks more like Matthew Illard to me, but I really probably think he would have been a good Dade. Maybe not better than what we got, but I think it would have been a good one.
I think he would have been better. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Miller's
couldn't see him being the good. I couldn't see him being now.
At the end of the
Now
movie, you
it could be one of those.
stand out, and you just hear like, I went you at a weird time in my life, and then the fucking what's that song starts fucking playing, and you just see the building.
Pixies.
Yeah, where's my mind? Yeah, that's the vibe I was getting.
Yeah, I couldn't see him with the ponytails all over his head and the nail polish and the odd clothing choice. I don't see Edward Norton like he.
To be fair,
Well, yeah, but like I'm trying to envision Edward Norton in that role, and that's a square peg in a round hole for me. That doesn't fit. Now, in the lead role of this film, kind of stoic, very.
Yeah.
I don't want to say personalityless, but kind of bland. Like he was very blah. I mean, I don't know. That was just my opinion, but I could see him more as the lead than whatever.
I wonder if he could have been like the chain smoking kid who just kind of stumbles upon that shit in the first place. That'd have been kind of fun.
No, that kid was cast perfectly. That guy was straight up comedy gold right there. That nobody should have had that role but him. He should have been the star of the movie. Then I would have liked it, but it is what it is. So
I didn't even know he was in the Bourne Legacy. That was the one Bourne movie with Jeremy Renner that didn't have.
Oh yeah, you mean that one that everyone liked?
That one that nobody liked, but I actually thought was a good movie. I
think I've seen one of the Bourne movies. I don't even know which one it is.
To this day, I really hope they combine both those characters into one Bourne movie, but I don't think we're going to see another Bourne movie anytime soon. That's unfortunate too.
Well, Jeremy Renner almost got killed with a fucking snowplow. So I mean,
yeah, but he didn't. Yeah. But did he die?
Apparently, he's back. I saw an interview the other day.
Yeah,
I saw an interview the other day where he said he's ready to go back to Marvel movies. So maybe he got better.
He's actually back shooting the Mayor of Kingstown now. Ooh. He just put something on Instagram a while back that he's saying something about.
Well, good for him.
He's shooting Mayor of Kingstown now. But let's see. What was the one? Penn Jillette's character is named Hal in the credits. This is most likely a reference. Yeah, this is the most likely a reference to the HAL 9000 computer system from the sci-fi movie 2001: A Space Odyssey from 1968.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I actually there was one scene when the addict kid, I don't remember his name, the cigarette smoking kid, when he first like cracks in to the computer system and like it's just a close up on his face with all like the crazy Windows media player effects going on. And like he's like looking into the cyberspace. I was like, that's very like end of 2001. Just like, with the flashing lights and all that.
Well, the graphics were a bit better.
If in 2001, of
68
course.
to 1995.
Yeah.
I haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey in a long time. That was one of my dad's favorite movies. He loved sci-fi. So I feel like
his round. If his round glasses were a red lens instead of a blue lens, that'd have been pretty damn funny. Like the red light that's on the house.
It would have been cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If those glasses were red, that'd be kind of funny.
He's always had kind of his own weird style, though. I know nowadays he's wearing the suits and stuff when he's on, like, Penn and Teller's Fool Me.
But he's got a look. I know, like, I saw him, like, that is from Penn and Teller. Holy shit.
And I will still say one of the best TV shows I have ever seen is Penn and Teller Bullshit. Have you seen this, Tex?
Oh, man.
I don't think so.
Dude, let me explain this to you real quick. Here's my Cora like squirrel moment for the show. They did a show for Showtime. They did a show for Showtime in the early 2000s called Penn and Teller Bullshit. And it wasn't about magic or anything. They would take stupid things like environmentalism or sex or just these weird taboo topics that people really badly misrepresent, and they would make sense of it all. And this is one of the most thoughtful, introspective, and quite frankly amazing television shows I've ever seen. They did one on environmentalism, and basically the name of the show was Bullshit, and they were basically calling everything bullshit. They did one on environmentalism. So what they did was they got some really cute intern that worked for their production office. They got some really cute intern to go out to an environmentalist rally in Washington, D.C. And this was probably 15 or 20 years ago. This was early 2000s.
2003.
Really?
To get and this is one of my favorite things I have ever seen on Earth. She was out there with a petition to get people to ban I'm going to say it wrong. I always do. Either dihydrogen monoxide or hydrogen dimonoxide. I forget how you say it. Now, for those of you who know chemistry, you know what I'm getting at. But let me go through this real quick. She was sitting out there and she would tell people, will you sign this petition banning dihydrogen monoxide, or however you say it? If they're putting it in our food, we're giving it to our children. And she got hundreds of people at this environmentalist rally, including the person who organized the rally, to sign this petition banning dihydrogen monoxide. Yep. Tex, I know that you're probably not a chemistry whiz. Do you know what dihydrogen monoxide is?
I could not tell you what it is. No, sir.
Wait for the mic drop.
Dihydrogen monoxide is H2O. Dihydrogen, di meaning two, oxide meaning one oxygen. It's H2O. Everybody signed this petition to ban water. And that's what they were. That was the whole point of this episode. Is they were like, these people are so unhinged and stupid. All they know is to go out there and just be loud and obnoxious. They don't even know what they're signing on to ban.
Yep.
And these people are not.
That's just like.
I think.
Did you?
I think it's on Hulu.
Did you ever watch the Man Show with Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla back in the day?
I used to watch the show, the Man Show, back in the day.
Do you remember the skit where they went out and to a women's rally with a sign-up sheet to repeal the 19th Amendment, and how many signatures they also got for that one?
I don't remember seeing that one, but it makes sense.
Yeah, there was a skit where they had some staffer guy from them went to some woman's rally. I don't know what the rally was for, but to repeal the 19th for women voting and all that mess. So I get it. Hell, South Park. I think South Park sums it up pretty good with the whole rabble, rabble, rabble. Just crowds of people getting together just to make noise because they want to feel like they're doing something, even though they probably don't know what they're talking about, which that's politics anytime. But, what are you going to do?
Took our derbs.
They took our jobs, yeah.
It says exactly. It says you can stream it on Fubo and Showtime. It was a Showtime show, which makes sense. Paramount Plus.
Pluto TV, I think.
But, it ran from...
I'll have to look for that.
You can catch clips of it on YouTube for free, but it ran from 2003 to 2010. Dude, everything from like the people who wear like magnets to aid with their health and shit like that. They actually
those copper bracelet things or whatever.
They actually sent some guy to a mall who no shit had an oven mitt with magnets glued on it and was selling these for $50 a piece, and people were buying them.
Jesus.
There's so much. They went to and this was right up her alley. They were debunking a psychic.
That's one of my favorites.
And they were just like, while we believe that there are people out there that may have these abilities, there are a lot of people out there who are just preying on people to steal their money. So what they did was they set up a psychic reading with a psychic if they knew to be fake. And they loaded it with people who were plants of theirs. So, like, the psychic thought they were giving a reading to a bunch of random people when really they were all there, like, on behalf of the production. And so, before the psychic realizes the camera's on, she's just going around talking to people. And she goes up to this one guy, just chatting him up before the show starts, before she knows they're recording. And he goes, "Oh, who would you like to talk to today?" And he goes, "I'd really like to talk to my mother. She died 5 years ago, and I've been missing her, and I'd like to know she's okay." And so she says, like, "Oh, that's really nice of you." And then they start rolling, and she does this thing. She's like, "You want to talk to your mother? I'm psychic." And it's like,
wait a minute. Have you ever seen that clip of John Edwards, the TV psychic, whenever he gets exposed or whatever? Whenever they did that whole deal?
I've seen a lot of videos about how his stuff is bullshit. But I mean, if you ever get a chance to watch Penn and Teller bullshit, it is one of the best television shows that's ever been on the air.
Mm-hmm. The only Penn and Teller show I know about it's on the CW, I think it is. Like, they have these other magicians try to come on there and fool them with their magic tricks.
Fool Us is a good show.
Fool Us, yeah. I've seen that show a couple times. That's actually pretty entertaining. Watching them, like, in live time try to break down how a trick is done. I mean, I'm not real big into magic, but it's fun to see the people that do it try to expose it a little bit. I think that's kind of fun to do.
You know, it's funny you mentioned it. I have a friend of mine who's a magician, actual practicing magician who does magic on the regular for money. And I've been trying to find a way to like get him on here and be like, let's talk about like The Prestige or The Illusionist with Edward Norton, and like break down one of these movies and talk to him from like a magician's perspective. What do you think of this movie? So go check out Zeke Powers on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. You guys should check him out too. He's a good dude. I've known him for years. He's a buddy of mine. I actually know his real name. That's how long I've known him. But yeah, I mean, Penn and Teller bullshit. I have to say, it's you can find clips.
I'm gonna check it out.
You can find clips of it on YouTube for free. The environmentalist thing, I know you can find that on YouTube. But I mean, they tackle everything from like guns and all that, and they're libertarian. They're not liberal. So they've got really middle of the road.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
About a lot of shit.
Penn, I don't know if you ever watched the documentary Michael Moore Hates America, but he is on like a huge chunk of that movie. And in the documentarian is like a friend of his or something, I guess. And you have Penn talking about kind of how Michael Moore does this and that. And he really kind of gives him the business end of it. It's I think that's free on Tubi. Michael Moore Hates America. It's a pretty good watch if you're looking for documentaries to check out.
Yeah, Penn and Teller's bullshit is a great show. Penn and Teller period is really awesome. They're fantastic to watch. But that seems like a good place to start wrapping things up now, as I've exhausted my my list of trivia, and we've blattered on for endlessly for the last 15 minutes about a show that has nothing to do with movie reviewing. But let me start to get your guys' final thoughts. I'll go to you first, Tex. Give me your final thoughts on Hackers from 1995.
I think Uber 90s movie is a fair short way to put this film. I mean, this thing oozes like Saved by the Bell energy when you're watching this kind of film. Not my favorite movie. I didn't really enjoy it, to be honest with you. I kind of almost fell asleep a couple of times. Can't say I'd recommend it, but hey, if you're into the technology stuff, you'll probably dig it. So check it out if you want.
And how about you, Kenton? Freaky Jeebus, give me your final thoughts on Hackers from 1995.
Yeah, if you like Tron, you'll probably like it. If you like, if you never skip the "you wouldn't steal a car" commercial at the beginning of a DVD, you'd probably like it.
Pointed that out, thank you.
Which uses the same. It uses the same fonts. I don't know if you guys noticed that acid burn fonts, which that commercial actually came out way after this movie. But 6 out of 10. If you like the style of it, you'll like it. If you don't, then you won't. There you go.
Jeremy, how about you, my good friend? Give me your final thoughts on Hackers from 1995.
It is definitely a very 90s movie. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a fun watch just for, like I said, being, 30 years removed from it now. Then you can kind of look back and laugh at like, haha, look at that payphone. What is that thing? I think I saw Keanu Reeves getting one of those once. You know what I mean? Like,
whoa, totally.
Like, yeah, stay.
Wild Stallions.
Yeah. So it's kind of a fun like movie to think about, in the time frame that it came out in. Like I said, there's this whole new thing about, this wild thing called the internet. And I think I can kind of have a little bit of, nostalgia for it, since it's like I mentioned that, I kind of grew up with the internet. So being in that, like, probably seeing things I shouldn't have seen, but that just is what it is, as Tex often says. It is what it is. So
it is true.
Have a weird little fun like nugget of time where just you're kind of in the wild wastelands of the internet. So is it like Oscar worthy Shakespeare? No, but just a fun movie to turn your brain off for a while.
Yeah, I agree. It does look tremendously dated, but I mean, sometimes that adds to a little bit of the magic. I talked a lot about why I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the grainy quality of the film. I mean, we look at it and be like, we're so used to stuff in 4K now, high def, even 3D in some places. But there is something about the texture of that film from 1974 that adds something to it.
It gives it character.
It gives it something else, something that can't be defined. And I think this is one of those movies that kind of has it, not quite at the same level, but kind of has it. The fact that it's so dated kind of makes it a little more fun. And to top it off, like I said, when you think about how the computer lifestyle, how everything is computerized now, there is something about it that is a little prophetic. It's kind of, you look back at it now and you're like, we saw what they were telling us, but we didn't know it. And it's like one of those things, like when you grow up 30 years later, you understand what your parents are trying to tell you. You're like, oh, wait a minute, now I get it. Now I'm wisdomed enough to know what they were trying to say. That we were just too young and stupid to understand it back then. We just thought it was a cool movie with a cute girl, and they were fighting the man and all that. And that's kind of all we got out of it. We didn't really get the deeper meaning until later. And I think that's one of the things that has made this movie age well for me, is that we kind of look back on it now and we're like, man, they weren't kidding. this whole everything being connected thing has got it's cool in some ways, not cool in others. It really is about people, you know what I mean? And people will take something cool and screw it up. They always do. But I think it's a fun movie. Again, it's we look at these people that are in this movie now and we think, oh, Angelina Jolie's a big star. A lot of these people have gone on to have good careers. Johnny Lee Miller's obviously has a lot of success, but we would forget that these guys were just kids back then. It's easy to remember Jodie Foster now and the last 10, 15 years of her career, but you forget that she was a child star back in the 60s and early 70s. You forget that back then she wasn't the Jodie Foster that we know now. She was just some kid who was trying to get into the business. It's interesting to go back and watch the young actors that have blown up when they're like kind of cutting their teeth in the industry. Because look, everybody starts small. We just did Leprechaun, and that who'd have known that Leprechaun was going to be a year and a half before she would, Jennifer Aniston would find her success on TV with Friends. Who'd have known that one thing leads to the other, whether it takes 5 years or 1 year in many cases, like it did for Matthew Lillard, by the way, who a lot of people didn't even know he existed until Scream, but then they like him in Scream, and they go back and look, they're like, oh, wait, he was in this Hackers movie? Oh, okay, now I'm discovering this movie at a whole new time. Mm-hmm. Or SLC Punk, which is another movie I haven't seen in forever, which was Matthew Lillard did before Scream, where he plays kind of a similar character in this movie, but still kind of different. But yeah, it's a fun movie. The movie itself is one of those movies that's kind of like a time capsule. It's interesting to look back in time. Stylistically, it's a bit, I don't want to say cartoonish because that seems harsh. It's different. It's a bit exaggerated, I want to say. I guess maybe that's a fairer term. But it's still cool to look. This is the kind of movie where you look back in time. You're not just watching an old movie. You're looking back in time. That's kind of what this is. It's a bit of a time capsule. But I think it's a fantastic movie. You can watch it for free on Tubi. This is probably, if you can find it at Walmart, you'll probably find it at the $5.99 bin if you want it on physical media, or Amazon. Yeah, it's on Amazon too. But I think it's a fun movie. If you've got a couple hours, it's interesting to watch, especially if you're into the computer stuff. I am not very computer savvy. I can barely make the stream happen half the time. But if you're into the computer stuff, I think it would also be fun for the technical aspects of it all. Just so you can look back 30 years and be like, oh, is this really how they did it? I mean, they're using laptops that are probably a third of the computing power of my iPhone.
They have floppy disks, damn it,
and shit like that, It's like,
the floppy disk.
Yeah, they're still using the old 4-inch floppies. So it's pretty funny. But definitely go check it out. I don't think you guys would. I think you guys would probably get a kick out of it. And if not, whatever. It's 2 hours of your life you're never going to get back. But thanks to my co-host for being so awesome as usual. Starting with my hetero life mate Jeremy. Where can the folks at home find you, my friend?
I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel. I ordered a capture card for streaming, so I kept I've thrown around the idea of doing just a little short after show stream, just hang out, whatever, and bullshit, watching me suck at video games. So maybe that's coming down the pipe. My name's down there. Figure it out.
Go check him out. He has Grim Tuesday 23 across all platforms. So one of these days he'll stop being a bad content creator and he will actually start putting his own stuff up here. And
he can't stop.
I'll still make
You'll
that my
watch it.
merch.
He can't stop being a bad one. That's his gimmick. That's why he's, who he is.
Yeah,
He's got to keep being
that's
the bad guy.
That's my cover. Every time I definitely get hacked, I mean, outplayed in Fortnite. That'll be my excuse. I'm just bad. Cue the Jerry Seinfeld, like, boom, 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 freeze frame. That's.
And to the shape of the Lone Star State, my man Tex, where can the folks at home find you, sir?
Oh, here doing whatever shenanigans we're doing. Recommendation for tonight. I'm kind of feeling I'm missing my Halloween vibes. So I'm going to go back to one of my go-to films that I absolutely adore that just oozes October goodness. And it's a remake from the classic, but I like it better than the classic. Night of the Demons from 2009, starring Shannon Elizabeth, Monica Keena, Diora Baird, just smoking hot hotties. What's the name of the guy, the original John Connor from Terminator? I can't remember his name now.
Furlong.
Yeah, Edward Furlong's in it. It's a fun watch. Like I said, this is one of my favorite Halloween films. I watch it every October, but I'm kind of in that gloom part of the season where we're just far enough away from it, but we're kind of trying to get there, not really. But go check it out. It's a fun watch. So.
And to our friend Kenton, who's going to be around here and there. He's been filling in for Cora and stuff when she can't make it. What's going on now, Freakajibus? Where can the folks at home find you?
I'm at Freakajibus everywhere. I said it last time. Check out my letterbox. That's where I post all my movie ratings. As I watch them, sometimes I'll do a little review. I did one for Hackers, sort of a little joke review. But yeah, mostly my letterbox on Reddit and Twitter and all that. Yeah, there you go. And I'll pop in on this show when I can. So,
hell yeah.
Also, as Rachel mentioned, it is Buttercup's birthday month, so yeah, there's.
Well, happy birthday!
No, birthday months aren't a thing. We're not going to perpetuate that lie. No, sir. We ain't. I ain't being complicit.
You don't know what damn day the dog was born. Get over it.
Well, no, you pick a day and you go with it. That's what I've done with my dog. Oh, you're 5th. That's the day you were born. I deem them a day. So it is what it is.
I think we pick like the 15th, like just right smack in the middle. I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Right. Yeah. Just pick a day, It's one of those.
She said it, not me.
One more piece
of
trivia that we kind of talked about before we went live. I forgot to bring it up. Is Matthew Illard's hacker name in this is serial killer, which is ironic when you think about the role that would ultimately make him famous a year later as a serial killer playing Stu and Scream.
Right.
I want to point out Frank is frozen in a very funny position, so everybody screenshot that. And oh dang it, he fixed it. Oh man, it was funny too.
We'll go back and we'll get it.
Yeah, we'll go back and get it. We got the raw
footage, so it's fine. Look, meme the shit out of me. That's just fine. Actually, the whole reason I brought up the Matthew Miller thing
just make sure you do it. You tag us.
Oh crap!
And where'd he go? And now he killed himself. There we go. Well, either way, if you meme Frank, make sure to add us. At El Padrino 13, I think Frank is, and hashtag the harsh truth. Just give us the credit, and make sure we get a little bit of attention off of it. That's all we ask, please. So I'm sure Frank will be back shortly. If
I hope so. I think you just said the hackers got him. That was it.
Well, we're very smart on this podcast. I mean, how many times have we been talking too much truth, and they have to, pull the plug on us? It's happened quite frequently, actually.
So he gets mad at me for going on about whatever.
Hey, we can hold it down.
How you want me to bullshit because he's gone? So
hey, our powers to bullshit are nothing to be messed with. We can go hours on just
our own
the
bullshit.
meaningless stuff. It's all good, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure Frank will be back shortly.
Well, speaking of bullshit, just like back in the day, me and some friends, early 2000s, also when Jackass was in its heyday, we're like, hey, let's get a camera.
I remember going to the theater to see it. Yeah.
Well, we're like, let's get a camera. Let's do some dumb stuff. Yeah,
Oh, I did. We did it. Yeah.
Crazy thing called YouTube. We're gonna be huge. No, like,
Well,
I was trying to rollerblade on a concrete floor over like it was a camp out. So we had you open up the nylon sleeping bags and lay them out flat, and I tried to jump like 4 or 5 of them, and I of course busted my ass completely. It was pretty funny.
oh, dude.
It was
Yeah,
bad.
I was one of those kids that, like Jackass and WWF, had to put the whole "don't try this at home" thing because I was one of those idiots trying it at home. So,
I think they,
you know,
I think they have a
yeah.
shirt of that opening shot from Jackass where it says like, "Yeah, don't let you and
Oh,
your
I'm
dumb
sure.
little friends try to do this."
Yeah.
I want that shirt. Really
Yeah, I'm sure.
because
Well, that's what's so weird. Jackass used to be great. Like the first 2 movies were hilarious, but then
yeah.
like,
I'm talking about the good
did you see
Jackass movies.
just say the latest one that came out? It was nothing but dick jokes. Like they went too far
Oh.
with it. Oh, Frank's back. There we go.
Okay,
We got it.
Yeah, my computer couldn't have waited 5 more minutes to have a seizure.
Hackers got
5
you,
more
man.
minutes. 5 more
Yeah,
minutes.
hackers got to you, man.
Mhm.
They must have. Somebody did. I must have pressed it. I must have hit a nerve somewhere with the.
We knew too much. We flew
Hacker
too
people.
close to the sun, and they had to give us the yank.
Emmanuel Goldstein got me. But,
Yep.
no, what I was trying to do is I usually pull up a picture of the next thing we're going to be doing, and I was trying to pull up a picture of the next movie, and my computer just decided to be like, "Meh, I'm going to take a shit for about 5 minutes." So I'm not going to bother trying to put the picture. I'm afraid it's going to melt my computer right now. But you will see us back here on what is today? Tuesday. You're going to see us back here on Thursday. We're going back to the 90s, back to Jeremy's wheelhouse. We're going to be talking about Batman Returns. The only other good Batman movie that came out prior to the Dark Knight.
The Nolan.
All right.
We're going to be breaking down Batman Returns. Actually, and then after that, we're going to be going to Superman 2.
Right.
So Batman and Superman back to back again. I'm
Double
looking forward
feature,
to those.
baby.
Yes, it's going to be a double feature, back-to-back videos. So I'm looking forward to breaking those things down. And so come and hang out with us to break down Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, directed by Tim Burton, Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito. Christopher Walken is in this movie. Never go wrong with Christopher Walken. I do.
I really hope Jeremy doesn't cosplay as Catwoman because I don't want to see that. Please don't do that.
I really hope
you don't want to see it because you're not ready.
Hey, if he tries that again, we'll drop him out a higher window.
There we go. There you go. Yeah.
But thanks to all of you for hanging out with us. We very much appreciate it. We will see you guys on Tuesday to break down Batman Returns. Until next time, we'll see you then. Adios.
No,
you know,
I'm specifically going to cosplay as the Halle Berry Catwoman just to piss you all off.
Oh, Jesus. Hey, Freaky Jeebus, do you want my spot Thursday? I'm going to be sick then. You can have my spot whenever he does that. So.
Don't be a hater.
I'm going to tag you in for the, I'm going to give you the hot tag.
If not Catwoman, I'm looking forward to a good Penguin.